I didn't violate any YouTube policies.
I don't care.
That's called a fix-it because it's very hot.
It's almost like you forgot.
Yeah, you know what I had is because I have that red tide, so I have this is basically very weak tea and then a lot of honey, but I have a cap on it, which is spared no expense. And then, but that's I don't know if you know this. It keeps the heat in, so it's hot.
You could ask them not to have the cap.
Yes, exactly. I'm tired, so that's the beginning of that conversation and the end. We have a lot to get to today. I know it's slow news day, which means there's going to be some swerves. But jobs report is coming out. That's something that you probably want to know about. We're also going to be talking about, Dylan Mulvaney now is also one of the spokespeople for Nike. But more importantly, with that, you have Anheuser-Busch, you have Jack Daniels, which is it's not Suntory. I forgot the name of the parent company. But there are a lot of big companies, aren't there? These corporations, right? You've heard the term "go woke, go broke," but it's not actually about you, the consumer. It's not even about the employees. It's about the shareholder, and it's about manipulating the market. And we've asked this question a lot. How is there this disconnect? Mm-hmm. Well, we'll explain that a little bit. And something I want to go through here today. We're seeing a lot of parallels that we saw in the 60s and 70s. A lot of you may not know this. You may think it was the era of flower power. Here's a question for you. Did you think that the 60s, what do you think the top-selling albums were in the 60s and 70s? What about films? You go back, are you thinking hippies? Are you thinking, someone putting a little daisy in a rifle before, hopefully that hand got blown apart? If that's what you're thinking, this is what the media wants you to believe, just like they want everyone thereafter today. In the hereafter, I guess. I don't know. They want everyone to think that this is Black Lives Matter, that this is mainstream America, that everyone was on board with Biden and going woke. But that's not what we are living. And we're seeing the same skyrocketing crime, and we're seeing the same kind of backlash. The pendulum swings the other way, and I want to analyze this a little bit, give us a little bit of time to draw the parallels and go back through, the vigilante films, Dirty Harry and Death Wish. Nice. Brutal, by the way. Do not recommend that to children. And this show is a PG-13. So then we have Chat Thursday. Yeah. It is, of course, a live show Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Notifications often don't work, right? So do subscriptions. They don't often work. I just sounded like Nick DiPaolo, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that notification bell will be aces. Okay.
It works on Rumble, thing.
There you go. You can hit the Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Perfect. I can join my club. All right, Gerald Day, CEO. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm fine. Did we get the question up there? Which big brands are you going to be supporting, boycotting? Why do you think they're going woke? There you go. Comment there.
Nice.
Come on, hit the comment thing.
Okay.
Hit the comment. What is going on?
Comment.
I'm the one who had the cap on my tea.
Not you.
I didn't have any tea. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. All right.
The cap on his brain.
And you know who we have in third chair here today?
Who?
We have him. Actually, you can go and see him in Portland, April 20th through 22nd. You can see all of his tour dates at briancallen.com. Mr. Callen, how are you?
I'm good. Good to be here, everybody. No cap on my tee.
No cap on your
I
tee.
am wearing a butt plug, though. Huh, guys?
Come on now. Not off the bat.
Kidding.
Again?
Not off
Sorry.
the bat. That's
Not
also
off the
too
bat.
personal.
How do you wear one of those?
Hard to sit, buddy, but it's called discipline.
Yeah.
All right? And I'm willing to take one for the
That's
team.
also the reason for his fictitious lat spread.
I need that back when you're done, by the way.
Yeah, okay. All right, guys.
Hepatitis.
So before we get to all of that, I don't know if you know this, but NPR, this just happened yesterday. This is a win. Yesterday, Elon Musk's, the Twitter under Elon Musk now, kind of owned by Elon Musk, they slapped a state-affiliated media label on NPR's account, which NPR was furious about. Of course, they get a huge portion of their funding from the government, from taxpayers like you. So it's a tag that the NPR, disputed on their profile, but is actually nothing in comparison to their warning of Washington Post tweets in which they slapped their account with the official label of lying commie faggots. So they're pretty upset about that.
Wow.
Perfect.
I mean, apt description.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be worse.
Well,
I don't know that it could.
No,
but-
if you're NPR, it could be worse.
Yes, if you're NPR. By the way, isn't it interesting if you go through podcasts right now, half of them are NPR, right? And they're funded by tax. I'm funding our competition. Think about that.
You are, yeah.
Through our tax dollars, we're funding our competition. It's produced, well, not entirely, but they would not be able to produce any podcast if not for taxpayer funding.
Right.
And then we get to see it there in the App Store. Isn't that fun? Hey, trust your institutions. How many episodes of Serial do you need? Ugh, gosh.
I don't even know what that is.
NPR.
true
It's-
crime stories.
Oh,
are
it's all
fun.
true.
Yes, all true crime.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
true.
I don't know when that became a thing. I'm not a fan of it.
Women apparently like true crime stories.
do.
Yeah, because it's a
There's
blueprint.
a psychology
Exactly.
where women arm themselves with information.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And they live vicariously. That's what you get. That's what you get. Yes,
Right,
exactly.
yeah.
Yes.
Are you missing the point where the man was murdered?
Yes. My wife was like, "Oh, I'm really loving this true crime." This was like a few years ago. And I'm like, "Should I know something?
Yeah.
Should I wear the gun always?
Should I be concerned about the shallow grave in the backyard? I just thought that was a motif. Speaking of women here, before we move on to the jobs report, here's a girl. I don't know if Brian has seen this on the TikTok, who has no shame.
I love America because I was literally a welfare baby, food stamp baby, and now I'm blowing bubbles in the backyard with my baby in this like gorgeous house.
Shut up, Meg.
All because I was a host. Dream big.
This is your man.
Yeah.
Look at the screen.
All right.
wow.
All because I was a hoe. This is where we are right now? You have depression at an all-time high. You have suicide going to, it's skyrocketing right now. We have crime at an all-time high. We have hopelessness at an all-time high. But the message to young girls, because all of it, of course, is acceptable. You're perfect just the way you are. Be a whore.
Right.
Be a whore and blow bubbles.
And make a man who's about my age feel sexy.
Yes.
Make him think you're actually into him for his genitals and the way he looks naked. That guy's got a set of tits on him, huh?
It is just so sad that men are that easy to trick.
Yeah, we all are. We
yes.
just want to be admired.
Think about how far we've gone, right?
Yeah,
We went from, women shouldn't be left destitute. That's why you had divorce laws. If a man had a midlife crisis, right, at some point, he was the primary breadwinner, to we now encourage young women, the fastest path to getting wealthy today, if you are a woman, the fastest path to getting wealthy, or I guess the most effective path if you're a man, is to start a business or to, learn a trade. The message to young women is to be a lying whore.
Well,
It's true.
Not saying all women are, but this is a message that is being thrust upon young women.
just get a lot of your pictures on Instagram where your ass is higher than your head.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And most of the pictures are taken from behind. And there's always a guy who's a little older who wants to be admired.
Yeah.
Right?
With a bubble gun, apparently.
Why
Why did she feel the bubbles were key to this story?
That's I'm saying that's the least.
I don't think that's super relevant.
Blowing stuff.
Bubble
No.
butt.
Yeah. Maybe the alimony might be more relevant. Bubble blowing.
That's also not the sign of wealth.
Oh, I guess that was a flex as opposed to like spinners or stuff. She was
not.
showing that she has an automatic bubble gun. She can't be bothered to go through the anguish of.
That's like $8 though.
Yeah.
That's not much of a flex.
Well, I have no idea. She's clearly dumb. By the way, this is available on Rumble. We're not on YouTube right now. It's 1 month free. Still 2 more weeks free. 1 more week free, I guess.
One more after.
One more free week of Mug Club. Loudofcutter.com/Mug Club. Everything that you see, everything that we say. Of course, we couldn't say lying commie faggots on YouTube, so thanks for that.
Nope.
If you don't join up, this ceases to exist. All right. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you're good.
Let's go to Dylan Mulvaney.
Oh no, we have.
Oh, boy.
You missed something then.
New pictures on the Instagram. Apparently, is a new brand ambassador. If you saw this, the Instagram for Nike women. Yeah. Nike officially changed their slogan to "Screw it," and that's
Yeah. And she's he is there's a new, it's a bra. What is
yeah. Well,
Nike?
here's the thing. It also makes Nike's job easier because it's really easy to create a supportive bra if they don't have any tits.
Yeah, that's true. And they have a testicle cinch, I think, that they're
Yeah, they do.
actually rolling out as well, which is the turbo tuck.
You know, here's the thing, and we'll get to.
It's called the turbo
Yes.
tuck.
Turbo
I think
tuck.
isn't that what it's
That's the colloquial. Like that's
Right.
how it's known by its
It's not a
common
ball
nomenclature.
bra for all you
No.
for all you sophomoric people out
It's
there.
really
it's called
just and also it's
turbo
not
tuck.
effective because it requires a ratchet
That's hard. Yeah, you need help.
and needle nose pliers.
and discipline.
It's like, what are these knee wraps for squatting? Why are you doing this? But this is the thing right now is Dylan Mulvaney. You have Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch. You have what just happened with Jack Daniels.
Yep.
Now, I don't know about you. Before we move, look, I understand. I also might be a little bit out of touch here. Okay, I know that sometimes I'm a little bit older.
Yeah.
And I get not everyone. I prefer my women without penises. Okay,
Steven.
but that's me,
Bigot.
Mr. Traditional. I know.
Bigot.
I know. It's a different time.
As long as you shave and tuck, and
Times
you have a good
change.
personality.
By the way, when you think of fitness, do you think of the white Somalian essentially there that's like skin and bones laying on this like
Your Nike bras are mine now. They belong to me.
Look at that. It's like 3 inches circumference around
That is
arm.
a weak, frail, scared little man who is now playing dress up.
But I don't blame Dylan. Dylan's getting money. Dylan's getting paid, has a good sense of humor. It's Anheuser-Busch. How in the world did this how did this happen how does a tiny group of people have that much influence on a corporation?
Good question. We're going to get to the answers. Good foreshadowing.
You see
Call
what
him
I do?
Steinbeck.
See that?
So
Steinbeck.
this happened after.
Nobody reads.
No, nobody reads. By the way, Grapes of Wrath is a commie manifesto, and it's horrible. You remember, people? Everyone talks about Grapes of Wrath. It's like, yeah. You know how that book ends?
Yeah.
American classic. It's a full-grown man sucking on his mom's breasts.
Yeah, nursing.
You read that to kids.
He's an old man.
He's an
sucking
old man
on
breastfeeding.
a woman's breast.
It's an American classic.
It's got to be another woman and not his mom. I'm pretty sure she's not lactating anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm so horny.
It was a crossover with Oliver Twist. So
There we go.
The udders of wrath.
The udders of wrath.
So this comes after, and Brian asked a valid question. A lot of you have been asking this. And it's not that, it's a little bit complicated, but it's actually simple to explain. So let's go through this. Of course, you saw this with Bud Light. And Kid Rock, who many people are not huge fans of, though, he's been gaining some traction, shared his thoughts on the Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney issue. When we covered it, we said, we don't know if this is confirmed.
Right.
Bud Light confirmed it in an act of, the stupidest marketing I can remember. The stupidest act of marketing since New Coke. So Kid Rock released this video online.
Grandpa's feeling a little frisky today.
That's weird.
Let me say something to all you and be as clear and concise as possible.
Subtle. Wow.
Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch. Have a terrific day.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I'm pretty sure he wasn't actually shooting those. If you look at the line of attack, I think there was someone off camera. But the point remains.
think so?
Yes. I think that was an airsoft and someone else. But the point remains. To make most of America side with Kid Rock, I mean, you must be doing something really bad. And a friend of the show, who's beloved, Travis Tritt, also said that he's dropping all Anheuser-Busch products from his hospitality rider. And by the way, I hope you guys remember this because you have all these country music stars out there. They get these Busch packages for Busch beer. That's Anheuser-Busch. So don't just make it about Bud Light. Look at the umbrella company. And I know it's tough. Here's the thing. It's tough to find some companies that aren't under their umbrella. Same thing with, there are about 3 distillers or distributors for whiskey. But there's an opportunity here. This means you can support local and mid-sized businesses. This can bring us back to the time of your grandparents. Think about that, right? We went through a period where everything had to become convenient. Everything had to become now, instant dinner, microwave dinners, right? The razors that went from, which is more effective, a double-edged safety razor. We went to 2, 3, 4, 5 blades, which does nothing but cause razor bumps. It's ridiculous. No one needs 5 blades. But we're going back to a time where maybe you can be more in touch with your community, local, because it's impossible to do business with these big brands and not be supporting something you hate. So let's look at some of these other companies. Here are some companies, by the way, who have seen losses after going woke. You've heard that. It's a slogan. All references available at loudwithcrowder.com. You have Disney. Disney in 2022, they were down 2.4 million subscribers. Amazon Prime, 2021 to 2022, down 2 million subscribers. The NFL per game viewership after the Colin Kaepernick, what is effectively Modern Roots, to hear him say it, down 400,000 viewers.
Wow.
Slaves were paid millions of dollars in his mind.
Yes. Slaves negotiated for $1 million, got it, and sucked anyway.
Yeah, well, slavery was okay. No, it was not.
And here's the thing. You're asking this, it's because these companies don't care. They're like I said this with comedy, they're not writing for the audience anymore. They're writing for the writer's room. It's a bunch of Harvard and Ivy League elites who've never taken the stage. And they say, I think this would be funny. And then everyone watches it and says, no. The same thing with the marketers for the NFL. The people Anheuser-Busch don't realize that almost all of their market share for their Busch beer comes from Middle America. But this is not about direct profit losses. If you look at this, we've talked about the ESG score, which is basically a score for environmental, social governance, right? It's like a score that they apply to these companies, and it includes carbon taxes, sustainability. Yes. Yep. Are you a good boy? How do we keep you in line? Yeah. And the problem is you have these companies who are simply looking at this as a game. Yeah. And they're saying, you know what? We think we can veer it this way. And think of Hollywood. You go, these movies suck, but they're looking to open the market in China. They're looking to open markets elsewhere. And so this isn't about what's best for America at this point. Again, community, country, before the global community, before globalism. That is a fundamental difference in the worldview. They're saying we can right now sustain some short-term losses to shape the world in the way we think it should be, which lines our pockets long-term with markets who, by the way, share none of your values and have a vested interest in the destruction of your civilization. That's what it is.
Yeah, and it gets them in good with all the right people. Yes. Right? All the people in power who can take care of all of the competition. Yeah, exactly. Satan worshipers, but they can take care of them, right? Like we talked about before, big companies can afford regulation. So they're in good with the politicians. That regulation comes out. It hurts the small guy coming up, taking advantage of the market gap, saying, hey, you're not serving middle America. I will. Right. I can't take care of all this regulation, though. You guys can. I'm out of the game.
Right. It's checking a box, right, which is kind of what they do in California. A public company in California has to have, I think, if it's a board of 5, you have to have 2 women. If it's a board of 7, you have to have 3 women on it, no matter what. Right. So it's enforcing equity. Yeah. And so they kind of just go, well, this is the cost of doing business. Let's check that box and keep moving. Yeah. And figure out a way to
That's
make
why
money.
All new boards in California are boards of 3.
Yes.
So
yes,
I could never
stay away.
I could never shoot a 6-pack with a machine gun in Los Angeles.
No, you could not.
I'd have to use my throwing
You
stars.
could do a gender reveal and start a massive fire.
Well, I train in Kung Fu, which I shouldn't even bring up on air.
Yeah, well, I'm an African throwing knife man.
What?
I had a guy when I was a kid
loose wrists.
trying to impress chicks. I was at a show, and he said, I don't carry it. They said, do you carry a gun? He was security. He said, no, I don't. I don't believe him. I carry African throwing knives. And I said, yeah, that's bullshit. And the women were like, why do you say that? I said, there's no way that this guy's using. First off, that's not a thing. Yeah. Okay? It's not an actual thing.
Africa's a huge continent.
And
what
second,
part of Africa?
There's no throwing knife that would be effective in what he needs to do. It would be a liability. He would be sued. It would be worse than him having a gun. I bet you this guy isn't even licensed for a taser. And then the guy was like, yeah, no, I am. I said, okay, show them to me. He said, they're at home.
My knives
Why
are
would
at home.
I carry them on me?
Yeah, why would I carry them on me at my security job? African throwing knives.
African. There's no school that teaches African throwing knives.
No, it's not. It's very tough.
Until now, I would keep my knives here. I've always wanted, to be honest with you, we'll move on. I've always wanted to be able to pull 2 knives from my back sheaths.
Yes.
You wear them in your back sheaths, and then double throw like that.
The problem is afterwards your back looks like the Passion of the Christ. There's no safe way to do it.
I'm all cut up. Yeah. My back's cut up anyway.
Exactly.
Huh, guys? Huh?
So here we have a quote, by the way, from McKinsey & Company. A better ESG score translates to about 10%, a 10% lower cost of capital, as the risks, such as its license to operate, are reduced if you have a strong ESG score.
That's insane.
This is not about you. This is about globalism. This is about other countries. Let me ask you this. This is why I always rail against the idea of common ground. I'd love for you to comment below. Hit the Rumble button, please, because I know we're not on YouTube and people won't know if we're on here unless you're right here on Rumble. People say common ground. Okay. I say no. Now, I say there can be common ground if you can actually discuss an issue and find out, okay, where do we agree, where do we disagree? Where do you think you are going to find common ground with the government of China, the Communist Chinese Party? Right. Do you want to? Why would you want to find common ground with evil? Where are you going to find common ground? Well, we talk about the fringe. This administration, who just yesterday, Karine Jean-Pierre, said there are no limitations, no age restrictions on sex change operations for children. How do you find common ground with that? Why is there a virtue in that? I think there is no common ground, and there's nothing virtuous in trying to play ball with Anheuser-Busch, with Jack Daniels. Can someone get me the name of Jack Daniels? I'm trying to remember. It's
the owner of the company.
It's Brown something. It's not Suntory. There's a few major companies.
It's Brown-Forman.
Brown-Forman.
Yeah.
Brown-Forman.
I knew that one.
Nope, not for me.
Dang it.
All right, and this moves us on to the job. What kind of effects does this have for you, the United States, the average American worker? We just heard about the jobs report, and the apologists on CNN they're at the ready, like, no, it's actually a good thing that it's bad.
Good try.
Do you remember back in July, I think we have a clip, in case you've forgotten, when the Fed raised the interest rates?
August.
Was it August?
Yeah, I think that's where our clip's from.
Okay.
Sorry, we said
I was off by a month. I apologize.
Details.
They all bleed together. But we made this prediction when the Fed raised the interest rates, and this was what we thought would happen. We do understand an artificially sort of manipulated economy when we were looking at lending rates for a long time and how that affected the housing market. But still, this happening in only a couple of months, I do wonder, and I would like to make a prediction as to what this likely means for the economy. Call me to the mat on it if I'm wrong. Yep.
Very prophetic.
Yes. Spared no expense, by the way.
I was going to say.
It's really hard to pull out an old Zol.
Amazing.
Do you have any idea how difficult it is to find a penny arcade? There's one in what's the name? Not Colorado Springs.
Flea markets.
What's the Springs right near Colorado? It's like the capital of witchcraft. No, you're just saying. Now you're just naming springs.
Well,
this is
hot springs.
He wanted us to
Springs.
call them Gerald Springs at one point. It's a thing.
It's not Palm Springs.
What?
Palm Springs?
Manitou Springs.
Manitou Springs.
Manitou Springs.
Yeah, tip of my tongue.
I could be making that up. But
Not
there's a
Manatee.
penny. There's a penny arcade there.
There is?
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. Here's the thing.
Okay.
The jobless claims
A
this
bunch
month,
of pedophiles in a penny arcade.
way higher than expected. Now,
Oh,
here's the
no.
thing. Yeah, you guys can bring up overlay A from Yahoo. Way high. Expected was 200,000, 228,000. Now, you're just talking about that in a month. Here's the deal. I'm not an economist, and people will tell you to trust the experts. Worked like a charm with the mRNA vaccine, right? Fauci was right about AIDS being airborne. But I want there to be accountability. That's, if nothing else from this show, everyone here, that's why we provide the sources. If we're wrong, we want you to call us on it because we actually want to learn. Now, let's contrast that with the experts at CNN who are already running interference. All is well.
And you can see that we had been sort of hovering in the 200,000 level for quite some time. So this is a bit of a jump. But Goldman Sachs actually put out a research note yesterday saying, don't be surprised if we see a jump because of some seasonal factors, saying that this is really the end of a technical distortion if we do see a jump, which we now have, rather than a sharp jump in the true pace of claims.
Oh, it's a technical distortion or what have you.
A technical? What a euphemism.
Hold on. Look, the graph that CNN just pulled up there to make you think that everything was going well was from January of 2021.
Yeah.
Is how far back they had to go. They had to go back to the jobless claims coming out of COVID where people were completely shut down
You're right.
to say, oh, look at the slope. We're doing great.
Right, yeah.
It's not, no.
Well, you think
We're not
something
doing
more
great.
current would be more relevant? I don't
I
understand your argument.
I don't know. Maybe within the last year.
Are you presupposing that the economic indicators over the last year are more relevant to today's jobless claims than those from 2 years ago?
Yes.
All right, he hung his hat on it.
I think
Mr. Gerald Springs.
The biggest threat here is lateral cooperation.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what I worry about. Lateral cooperation between media and between the government and between corporations.
Exactly.
That to me is the biggest threat.
Well, that's why it bothers me so much when people say, go and start your own YouTube, go and start your own Facebook.
Can't do
Well,
it.
you can't do it. There's
No.
a complete stranglehold. I mean, obviously, your good friend Rogan, when you had Jen Psaki saying, we would encourage those on Spotify to remove this, to make sure that content is accurate, and we all know what happened there. There are the lost episodes that you can never find.
Yep. That's amazing.
Oh, by the way, we have the lost episodes going up tomorrow on Friday. The audio.
yeah, the
if you're
audio
subscribed on audio, Spotify, it's like we found 600 old audio sketches back from when it was on radio.
So much.
So you can just subscribe there on audio and you'll get it tomorrow for free. It's the only place to find it. Okay, here's something else we wanted to talk about before we get into murder and the timing.
Impeccable.
Before we get into murder, crime, and some information that you may have sort of missed as it relates to the 60s and 70s and the patterns, which are very similar to what we're seeing here. The dollar is something that people are talking about, right? That it's going to crash. And at least that is something, and I want to know if you guys want us to do a little more about this because my eyes glaze over. You're hearing about it everywhere.
But what would happen if it ended? You don't even really want to think about that because the consequences would be too ugly, really ugly.
And it's really hard to overstate exactly how catastrophic the abandonment of the U.S. dollar would be as the world's global reserve currency.
Well, China's several years has made very clear, along with the Russians, they want to downgrade the dollar because they think that'll enhance their power around the world. And certainly the way we've treated the dollar over the year has gone in that direction.
The U.S. dollar, as we know it, will definitely be dead in 10 years' time. We're in a sovereign debt crisis.
What?
And mathematically, things simply cannot continue as they are.
Now, here's the thing. Some of the panic might actually be unfounded. but some of it is relevant, and I think that unfortunately people on the right and on the left have sort of done you a disservice. Gerald, you're someone who's very up to speed on this more than
so am I. This is why I bought Dogecoin.
Oh my gosh.
Good for
no,
you.
It's
Just saying, dude.
Yeah.
This is
Twitter
where it
changed
comes
the
in
logo.
play.
I invested all of mine into that bent back paperclip in the Word document.
That was a bad idea.
I don't know. I thought it was time. I thought retro. Everything old is new again.
Dogecoin and milk futures, guys. I'm telling you.
Yes.
Milk futures.
I'm just
Yes.
telling you. Yeah,
Buy
it spoils
water.
quick, but
No, look, there's a lot of fear porn right now that the U.S. dollar is crashing and that this has never happened before and it's unprecedented. And there are some things about what's going on in the world that are new or that are kind of like concerning. But people that think they need to run out tomorrow and change everything over to gold or something else, they're probably not accurate. The whole picture, it needs to be taken into account. It's probably not accurate that we're going to crash like some of these people are saying, and some people online saying it too. By the way, if anybody ever tells you like the U.S. dollar is going to crash and then there's a gold commercial that comes up, probably ought not believe those guys. But we actually have a deep dive kind of prepared for this, so we could, if you guys are interested, just let us know in chat.
Yeah, comment, let us know in chat if you want us to do a deep dive. We had a whole thing today. I was like, this is a little bit too long, and I'm going to trust G. Gordon Liddy to tell me everything I need to know.
That's right.
Gold!
But at the end of the day, do you have confidence in the Chinese economy or the American economy?
I know. That's
my question. If you think the dollar's going to die, what are you going to replace the dollar with? What economy is going to back up what currency?
Zimbabwe.
Dude, I'm so smart.
Indentured servitude.
It's
a barter system with humans.
Really is. Yeah.
Slavery is.
Yeah. Everything old is new again.
Slavery is bad until
it's necessary.
Until the dollar's threatened.
Yeah. Everything old is new again, right?
That's what it is.
They're going to have a slavery shirt at Hot Topic. Like, yeah, man, I liked slavery before it was cool. So, I don't know.
Steven.
I have no idea. By the way, it's I think I already said it's a live show Monday through Thursday. Yeah. Monday through Friday, actually. Tomorrow we have a show on Good Friday, which we're looking forward to doing. So I wanted to get into something here that a lot of you may not be aware of. There's this misconception that people have regarding kind of our past and this idea of the hippies in the 60s and 70s. And we are seeing a trend right now that I think mirrors it quite a bit. You know, the 60s and the 70s, it became this idea of soft on crime, right? Crime skyrocketed. And then that brought us anti-heroes like Dirty Harry, like Death Wish. A lot of people don't know. The American public made those films successful. The American public were not out there supporting the hippie flower power movement. The American public wanted to see rule of law. And we're kind of seeing that now with skyrocketing crime, the media telling you that everything is okay. And the biggest movies are Maverick and John Wick, right? So this is a good example of a disconnect. And what did that do? That brought weight to the 80s. Not saying we're in the same exact climate, but certainly as it relates to crime, there's this disconnect. And I want to know, you can comment if you guys have been feeling this. So tragically, Tuesday morning, Cash App founder Bob Lee was stabbed to death, right? This is a story everywhere. And our friend Jake Shields actually talked about this in San Francisco, which is not atypical, and we'll get into.
Tonight, we are learning more about 43-year-old Bob Lee, the tech executive who was killed in San Francisco. There are now flowers near the spot on Main Street where he was found suffering from stab wounds about 2:30 yesterday morning. ABC 7 News reporter Stephanie Sierra has been following the latest on the investigation and is live in the newsroom with more on the story. Steph?
Yes, Dan. Well, several sources confirm surveillance footage shows Bob Lee was walking down Main Street in San Francisco's Rincon Hill area after this attack. He was looking for help before he fell to the ground on the sidewalk. Now, we don't know what exactly led up to the stabbing, but we're told Lee was in town this week on business.
Now, actually, a friend of the show, maybe we'll have him on next week. He's been on quite a few. He was on our show, actually, after he punched out an Antifa person at Berkeley. Remember the riots and the burning there? And I was surprised that Jake Shields was a conservative. Like, wait, the pot shop owning vegan Jake Shields? He was like, I'm tired of this in Berkeley.
He's
like,
very,
I'm leaving.
yeah, he's become a conservative. I had the pleasure of rolling in jiu-jitsu with Jake once. I was in the round robin, and he didn't know me.
No.
And he was afraid I'd get position on him, so he decided not to. Usually you roll with an actor,
right?
In his, at the time,
right? You
40s.
go easy.
Go easy. And I came out a new woman, though.
Yes.
So
exactly.
that was
It ended with the grapes of wrath submission.
Indeed, he was on top of me the whole time.
He's no
Smells
joke,
good,
but he's a really nice guy.
Smells like authority. Smells like authority.
He's a sharp guy,
very sharp guy.
And this really hits close to. He was a friend of Lee's,
yes,
the Cash App founder. He tweeted out that I just found out my good friend was killed last night. He was in a quote good part of the city. F San Francisco. And Elon Musk replied saying, violent crime in San Francisco is horrific, and even if attackers are caught, they're often released immediately. Now, keep in mind, one of our strikes on YouTube was relating to inmate crime, right? Transgender inmate crime. We also got a strike a very long time ago when we did an entire roundup of Black Lives Matter victims, right? We went through, everyone went through, we did, well, it was pre that, but we also had Trayvon, we had Mike Brown. We went through all of them and kind of gave you some context. And YouTube, this is maybe 2017, said, oh, but that could be perceived as racist because, of course, it was largely black victims of police violence. So this is a trend that's been going on for a long time, and mainstream media and now big tech, they don't allow you to speak on it. So that's why that's relevant that Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter, can comment the truth, because we're not allowed to. And on Twitter, you would have been shadow banned or removed. Now, let me give you some other cold hard truths. From 2020 to 2022, crime in San Francisco has increased dramatically. So in 2 years, homicide up 15%, assault up 20%, rape up 25%, larceny and theft up 58%.
Dead naming up 50%.
Yes, exactly.
Which
and
they didn't have there.
No one is unaffected.
It's unbelievable.
What do you do when they come for you, Dylan?
Let that sit.
I was talking to McDermott. He was waiting for my best friend's wedding too. Is that Dylan Muldermott or Dermot Mulrooney?
Yeah, Dermot Mulrooney. But it may as well be Dylan. But, but we got it. But we still got it.
It's the same person.
Dermot versus Dylan. You have to know that if you name your kid Dermot, people are going to say Dylan.
Yes.
You're going to have to go, no, it's Dermot.
Yeah, but the good news is he'll get a Nike sponsorship.
Exactly.
The drug problem, by the way, is so bad, I don't know if it's in San Francisco, that the mayor, London Breed, has now called in the feds.
How about you just do your job, London?
Yeah.
That would be easier. You don't need to call in the feds. Just put them in prison.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. It starts with, and this is, the broken windows theory when you go back to Giuliani. Everyone said it was racist. You allow in San Francisco, we've joked about it for years, you allow people to crap in the streets and you do nothing. And you allow people to do drugs everywhere. And I know the libertarians, man, it's not affecting you. No, shit in the streets is affecting me. Needles in the streets are, and it also irreparably damages the city, right? It starts with vandalism. It starts with poop in the streets. It starts with drug paraphernalia everywhere. And then people don't respect their surroundings, and you end up with this kind of crime. I'm not saying that pooping in the streets is the same as rape and murder. I am saying that all of it tracks together when you are soft on crime. And there are a few reasons for this, not the least of which is, look, we talked about this a long time ago. Chickens are coming home to roost. San Francisco, right, defund the police. San Francisco is now short 540 police officers. That's not even including Oakland. Used to be San Francisco safe, Oakland death.
Right.
Now it's death.
Now it's just everywhere.
Ways, right.
Yeah.
And I used to fly through San Francisco on my way to Napa. Like, you fly into San Francisco, you go across the Golden Gate Bridge. It's fantastic to go for wine country, whatever, right? Business. We would always grab some food and go down to the park that looks at the Golden Gate Bridge. And you can sit down there right where Ghirardelli is and all that stuff. And you were fine. Perfectly safe. Not a care in the world.
Ghirardelli, you mean the chocolate place?
Chocolate. They have a big chocolate place right there.
Gerald's a real chocolate.
No, for reference.
Yeah, by the way, he's the only guy who does a 12-hour layover in San Francisco every time there's a Folsom Street Fair.
And he goes straight to Ghirardelli.
Yes, exactly.
You think I need 12 hours?
Is the Ghirardelli store open?
Yes, exactly.
That's the thing about me.
Just go to the duty-free shop.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty
I
sure
guess I'm still gay.
I love their apples.
Yes.
They dunk them in Ghirardelli chocolate.
Oh, you peasants. I'm a Lindt man. Lindor for the initiated.
No, but you used to be able
Too
to go
much
down
vanilla
there and
in
be
those.
safe and hang out, and it was beautiful. It was a wonderful city in that part of the city, right?
Yeah.
Not even close. And I think the last time I was there was like 6 years ago. Horrifically bad.
Yes.
There's no way that I would take, at the time, the woman I was dating, now my wife, I would never take her there. We actually drove by and I was like, yeah, we're not doing this.
Well, and you can see the real difference, being on the road, right? You can see cities pre and post COVID.
I saw a massive difference. You saw, there was always a part of, my buddy was a cop, so I did a couple drive-alongs with him.
Yeah.
Where in the Tenderloin district, there was an area that was really, they decided, let's have a district where people can do their drugs and we won't really bother them. I mean, that was really what it was.
Right.
And you had open air drug markets. But then after Black Lives Matter and COVID, it just truly, the people on the city council of San Francisco, there isn't one Democrat. They're not Democrats. They're truly socialists and communists.
Yes.
And we'll tell you that.
Well, actually, the mayor, London Breed, by the way, he did defund the police.
She.
Oh, sorry.
London
Breed. Yeah, sorry.
Dead.
I was thinking about
everywhere.
London Bridge. Yeah, we're back to
Wait, that's a woman?
The mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, London Breed is a woman.
Her last name is Breed?
Grew up in the housing projects, and her even got so fed up with the crime, her own car was broken into. And she said the bullshit stops here.
Yeah.
Once
it affects her.
No, it doesn't.
Once it affects
it's still
her.
going on.
Yeah, she's like, no, they're smoking crack. They're shooting up. The ODs are up. Who cares? Wait, they broke into my Prius. All right.
Fornicating in the back seat.
All right. Even I have my limits.
You can't do that in the backseat of a Prius. What's the matter with you?
In Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Never a great city, let me be honest. But before COVID, I went there, and it was fine. And then recently, when we went there, I watched a guy OD. That day, I watched someone die OD in front of me.
There?
And when I went to
You didn't
CVS
have your
or Walgreens,
Narcan pen?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. I should carry around with me.
Always.
There's also a debate about that if EMT should be forced to deliver Narcan to serial drug offenders, but that's a conversation for another day. But I also noticed at CVS and Walgreens, they lock up the socks. Yeah. The socks.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I needed a pair of gym socks. I forgot to pack. When you pack, I forgot socks. And I went, and it was behind bulletproof glass. Like this was the Hope Diamond.
The $8 pair of socks?
Yes. Yeah. And they just said everyone steals everything.
Yeah.
That's what happened in Louisville. So they defunded the police, by the way. London Breed, $120 million budget cut in San Francisco. So now they're 540 police short. And here's the thing. The left keeps doing the same thing and expecting different results, and you have to deal with the consequences. And this is not new. You can learn from history. Let's go back to Chicago. Chicago, it tracks exactly from 2019 to 2022. Murder was up 39%. Now, let me give you some context here. Murder in Chicago, for those who may the uninitiated, was already high. Was already, towards the top, and by toward I mean at the top of the list.
Civil War.
Right.
It's not like you had a city that was peaceful, and so all of a sudden you had some kind of anomaly. You have to try really hard to increase murder year over year in Chicago. Like you have to be going out with a plan.
Usually have pretty good years. It's hard to top that. In Chicago, they did.
It's also important to remember that all those murders were of black people.
Largely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Carl Winslow snapped. He just went in one day.
Was it Winslow?
Yes, it was
Can't
Winslow.
handle it.
1, 2, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. Like, holy shit. Yeah, you should see Urkel. They couldn't even ID the body.
No. Yes, they could. Come on.
Looks like they turned his body into got any cheese. All right, I'm sorry. I'm a funny mortician.
Check for tattoos.
Did I do that?
I'm a funny coroner. Here's my card. Between 2021 and 2022, theft went up 56%. Robbery went up 14%. And Chicago, here's the thing. We were talking about this on CNN. They just elected a new mayor. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Tough on crime? They elected it. No. Mm-hmm. It's a new mayor who, if you look at what he is promoting, he's basically letting you know that he is so sure, he's so confident with his job security that he is going to change nothing. He'll undoubtedly make it worse. Here is the newly elected mayor, Brandon Johnson, talking about defunding the police.
The president of the United States, the former president of the United States, President Barack Obama, took it one step further as well, and basically said that the effort of the defund police movement lost an audience because of that that slogan, I guess,
because
is
your
what
voters killed them all.
Which I don't look at it as a slogan. It's an actual real political goal.
Oh.
Is he saying that is his goal, or is he saying
no? He did say he was going to defund the police.
Is he being taken out of context?
No, he's not being taken out of context. Believe me, I do my research.
You mean what you
Stop playing devil's advocate here on this.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, there's so many clips. We just had to pick one, and that was the dumbest one.
Yeah.
They're all dumb.
Yeah.
They're all very dumb. He's saying, so his solution is in Chicago, okay, you have gun crime that's at an all-time high, and he wants red flag laws. He said this, we do not manufacture guns in Chicago, yet we have guns flowing in. I'm also pretty sure they don't manufacture guns in rural East Texas. It could not be less relevant. And, we need to look at police. We need to look at reducing the police. His campaign slogan is, ain't nothing gonna change.
Okay, so that I'm done with these stereotypical Chinese accents.
Ask me about crime. You can keep that shit. It will not change. You ain't gonna get a gun. Criminals still gonna have guns. Ask me about poverty. Come on, Brian.
Okay, fine. Let me. What about poverty?
Poverty's yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes to poverty.
I'm not
yes
following.
to you not having a gun, gangs having a guns. Yes to increase 50% on the murder rate. I'm doing. Ain't nothing gonna change. Vote for me.
Hey, I like my theft.
You sound like Lori Lightfoot with a dick right now.
Hey, hold on a second. Don't interrupt. No, that's rude. You said
I like my
what'd you
theft.
say? You like your theft?
Can I keep my
You
theft?
can keep your
I
theft.
can keep my
You can
theft.
keep your theft. I'm gonna catch and release that motherfucker.
Hercules.
You say, wait, violent crime? Violent crime? Ain't that good? Violent crime ain't punishable by shit in Chicago. Nothing gonna change. Vote for me.
You think we're kidding? You think we're just
You
making
think we're
this up?
kidding? This guy just became mayor of, and here's something.
Yeah,
here's
amazing.
something. By the way,
It's
here's
amazing.
something. You know what is more racist than doing a voice? Come at me, bro. It's let's look at the map that voted for Johnson. Okay, let's look side by side. Look at where he voted. Now that other map right there, I'm trying to see if it's your left to my right. One of those maps is
On the
districts.
left is the murder hotspots.
The murder hotspots, and then on the right are the districts that voted for him.
For the guy that said defund the police. So the people that had the highest murder rates in their district said, yeah, we don't need
Yeah,
it.
the Crips are going, finally, a politician who speaks my language.
And by the way, his opponent was basically a moderate Democrat.
Right.
Yeah.
And they used,
Ish.
and he was a pro-choice, actually pro-choice, but he said 10 years ago, he said something to the effect of, I'm fundamentally pro-life, meaning I'm pro-life, but I wouldn't push my morality on the people.
Which is stupid.
And they kept rolling that, but a mayor has nothing to do with Roe v. Wade.
I know.
Absolutely nothing. But they in his campaign, he kept running the fact that my opponent is a pro-life, pro-police racist.
Yes. My opponent does not speak for the people of Chicago.
Yeah.
All you murderers, all you stabbers, all you thieves. I know your districts. I got a map. I'm gonna keep it exactly the same, and you are going to have an easy time under my mayorship. That's what I dig about you.
The Sausage King.
I feel like that's what people are sitting like. I feel like I don't have these politicians. They speak in a way that, but this man speaks in plain English. I can stab somebody. Well, good. You know what? I'll vote for him.
I gotta practice my stabbing.
Yes.
More of the same.
More of the same. And you guys can, well, anyway, let me move on here. You guys can hit the Rumble button. Smash that Rumble button, actually, right now, because Rumble's a lot of fun. No way we could do this. You don't know what gets you removed on YouTube. That's the problem. You never have any idea.
Don't even have to think about it
Well,
here.
accents like that, Stephen.
No!
Yakuza,
All right.
wasn't there something else in the map today that was supposed to be a layup for the practice of stabbing? Wasn't there a video of a crime being committed?
Well,
Are we?
no.
No? Did it get removed?
We're past it.
We're past it.
Did I miss it?
Yeah.
No, yes.
Did I skip past it?
You missed it. You didn't.
I missed it.
Okay.
Can we stab him?
You stab me.
What was it? Was it a video about? I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway,
I'll talk about it.
It's one of those weird days. So here's the thing. We see this in Chicago. You see this in San Francisco. We see this across. That's one thing that comedians and bands and people who travel for a living, you have the benefit of seeing the pre and post.
Yeah.
And it's not just, by the way, I'm not blaming it on the pandemic. I'm blaming it on the opportunists using it to destroy your country. It wasn't because of the cough. Okay? It was because of locking down the country. It was because of shutting down. And I've said this a lot. It didn't just harm the economy. It irreparably damaged the economy that people knew their entire lives for generations. That's the issue here. Sure, there'll be other ways economies will adapt. Yeah. But the economy that you knew, whether it's restaurants, whether it's live venues,
Small businesses.
They're gone forever.
Yep.
They're gone forever.
Took 30 years to build, and we'll see you later.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why there's unrest. I mean, not you guys here, but of course the people.
Ridiculous.
Well, no, in Chicago, I mean, a large part of that spike, so we use 39%, a large part of that spike was because of COVID. And now they're saying, hey, but 2022, actually, murder went down. Yeah, it was 500, I think, 500 murders. That's a lot, right?
Yes.
500 murders or right about there in 2019. And I think it was like 695 or 600 and something in 2022. So you're doing a real bang up job.
Yeah.
Your normal numbers were down here. You're still up 20 some odd percent.
Well, in Austin, for example, they say murders are down, but rapes are up dramatically.
Right. I mean, you just skew these numbers to make it sound like you're doing a good job. Look, if you're a person that lives in Chicago, I've been there a ton of times. I go to Notre Dame through Chicago. Every single time a black person is driving or I see somebody, they're telling me how much they hate the city. Every single
If they're driving, what, they talk to you from their car?
No, like if you're on the tram or something like that and you're riding with somebody or they're driving.
Well, no one's
shuttle bus
driving
or
the
you're
tram.
talking to
It's an
somebody.
engineer.
Nobody drives a tram. Gerald?
What is he talking about?
I said the shuttle bus. What I'm saying is every interaction.
Do you go on the San Francisco trolley and go beep, beep, like a kid with a Hot Wheel?
I do, yeah.
Do you really travel with the common cattle?
Yes.
I do.
Oh
Yes,
my God!
I do.
Do you get that pour juice on your elbows?
I don't have the nice car service money. Okay.
Well, please.
No, but it is true. It's
every
absolutely
single
true.
interaction
every single
I've had
interaction
with somebody in that city. The voting bloc that they say they're representing. That's why I said black people, because other people have obviously had the same thing. But black people, they say, I represent you. No, they're like, this place sucks. I cannot believe the crime here.
There is no group of people who are more overrepresented in the media while being completely unrepresented than the average black American. You think Joy Reid represents them? You think this mayor does? No, not at all. You think Barack Obama does?
The people driving this narrative are primarily white liberals who pay no price for being wrong.
Right.
No price. It's everybody else.
Until they break into
Shut
your
down
Kia.
that businesses and you know, what's that? Until what?
Until they break into your Kia. The mayor.
That's a
Then
problem.
it is on.
That's right.
No, you're absolutely right. And here's the thing. This is something we've been here before. And this is a lot of young people may not necessarily, is there something breaking there? A lot of young people may not necessarily know this because we've been fed a lie. Mm-hmm. So when you think about the 1960s and the 1970s, and this is why I want you to remember where you are right now, to remember what you are living, what we are talking about, and have this discussion with your kids in 20, 30 years from now. Because the exact same kind of gaslighting, it used to be the victors write history. Right. Well, today, that's not even the case, right? When Donald Trump won, it doesn't matter. The people writing history are the media, people in big tech who are protected by the way, these career established, these coronated politicians. So it's not just about the White House. If you would take the power of the White House over the power of the entertainment industry of all of Hollywood and Silicon Valley, I would say that you need a CAT scan because they try and write a history, and it's a false history. They're doing right now what they did with the 60s and 70s. And let me make my case here. A lot of you, when you think of the 60s, right, early 70s, what comes to mind is probably something like this, which you've seen. Oh, it's a marvel. Yeah. So you think about the hippies, right? You think about if you see the Spirit of the 60s albums. I don't know if they do that anymore. No, that's what I call 60s.
Yeah. What you see is hippies, I see gonorrhea, guys.
Yeah.
I've never wanted
That's
to
the problem with
people,
free
so-
sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when it's in the mud at Woodstock.
No. It was post-pill.
Never free.
Post-pill, pre-AIDS, though, huh? So take a little penicillin and keep on rocking.
Well, it was
Bad
pre-knowing
cancers.
about the AIDS. We just thought they had a wonderful diet plan.
You're looking great. Oh,
You're looking great. A little scabby, little gaunt. So that's what you think of, hippies.
Yeah.
But in reality, the 70s, the 60s and the 70s were more like this.
Remember when we had the meat shortage? There was no meat, huh? All right, nobody ate steak after that because it went up to $3, $3.40 a pound. Same thing with gas. If gas is up to $1.25, they'd buy conservatively.
That's a live shot again of that fire in the South Bronx that Keith called to your attention just a few moments ago. Wonder how many alarms are involved, but as Keith said, the fire department really has its work cut out for it.
One in San Francisco for the man known as the Zodiac Killer. The elements involved today included psychiatrists, astrologists,
Looks a lot like
police guards for school buses.
It's a bad sketch. Oh, that narrows it down.
Are nice targets. I shall wipe
White
out
guy,
a school
brown
bus
hair.
some morning, shoot out the tires, and then pick off the kiddies as they come bounding out.
Yeah, it's like it's a white man, so for reference, look at this sketch of a clearly Asian gentleman.
Yes. We have a racist sketch artist.
Yes, we believe that it was blonde hair, blue eyes. For reference, here's a picture of Sidney Poitier. We think that will serve you well.
Yeah, would
They
you
call
mind a
him
little
Mr.
more
Zodiac.
detail? A little more detail? Yeah, he was white, cloud white.
Yeah.
Hair and dots for eyes.
And here's a picture of a guy who's none of that.
Yeah, I think he had eyes and a nose. Yeah. Hair.
Oval face.
Oval face.
Our sketch artist was 5.
Yes, our yes. That's the last time we got a sketch artist from the preschool. So they want you to believe that Flower Power, Black Panthers, right? All of that was mainstream. Well, why? Well, because Barack Obama was in that movement, right? When you look at Biden, wants you to believe he was in that movement. Everyone. So you look at them, you say that must have been mainstream. I mean, let's ignore Kamala Harris listening to Tupac before Tupac would have actually existed. But here's the thing: none of that is accurate. Let me give you a few examples, and the reason that this matters is you are the catalyst for change. The pendulum swung back, and I'll show you how it swung back. And right now, there's an opportunity for that to happen. So when you think of the top-selling albums, the 60s, right? 60s, hippies, and then 70s, there's kind of that, right? We're talking like 60s through early 70s, and then it kind of switched to disco. You would probably think
Mamas and the Papas, maybe?
Yeah. So 1960 to 65, Sound of Music, Camelot, West Side Story, Hello Dolly.
What?
Mary Poppins. Now let's go to 1965 through 1969. You have Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. You have the Monkees. Then you do have the Jimi Hendrix Experience. By the way, Jimi Hendrix was opening up for the Monkees.
Wow.
Just so you know. So there were some of those, but the highest were show tunes, country music. You go back, you probably don't think of Ballad of the Green Berets. They want you to think that everyone was on board with the Beatles on acid trips, when the fact is most people thought they were assholes. Most people hated these hippies on their campus because they wanted to get to class. It's just like you today. But if you go back and you buy that, guess what? You're already operating at a loss. It's not true. So what you have to do is cut someone off at the pass and go, no. The 60s and the 70s could have been great. They started sucking because of hippies and soft on crime policy, which, by the way, Americans hated. Let's go to that, the 60s and 1970s. You probably don't know that it was like Escape from the 70s. Murder rates spiked. 60s and 70s. There's a 104% increase between 1960 to 1980.
Wow.
Violent crime, 60 to 70, up 126%. 70 to 80, up 64%. Think about that for a second.
Wow.
Why do you think there was a Ronald Reagan to a Jimmy Carter?
Exactly, right.
And by the way, when you go back, too, even if you look at people like JFK, this is a guy who supported the Vietnam War.
Right. What happened to, peace and, love, man? That's all we want.
Yeah.
Because that's what you
If
see.
Nixon didn't get caught, can someone bring this up and overlay? When people talk about a landslide election, you guys need to see the Nixon map when he won. It wasn't even close.
Was it Nixon Mondale? Is that who did he beat?
No, Mondale was Mondale was Reagan.
Reagan, yeah.
I watched that debate on C-SPAN all the time, just because.
So who am I thinking of?
I like to watch a good spanking.
Old butter? I don't know.
Someone can bring up that map. So here's the thing: crime went up, right? And all the references are available at loudwithcrowder.com. Now here's the backlash. You think of those artists as far as music, but you also think of some iconic film characters. And bring up. Do we have that map really quickly? Here's the Nixon map.
Bam.
There you go.
Wow.
McGovern.
Wow.
McGovern.
Is that really? Is that?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
And when you understand, was it wrong? Did he do it? But when you understand what level of child's play Watergate is compared to what happens today.
Correct.
We're all being Watergated.
Yep.
Just to be clear, being spied on. I know it's more complicated than that, but shut up. I have a segment. Not you guys.
But he lied about it, Stephen. That's enough.
I get so mad about this because people say, I lived through the 60s. The number, and what happens is people say that, and so then you have more people now experimenting with hallucinogenic drugs, thinking it's consequence-free because they believe that, no, actually, it was a very small percentage of people in the 60s and 70s. It was never mainstream. And this is why you see the big box office blockbusters, right? At the tail end of this, early 70s, late 60s, you saw the rise of the anti-hero vigilante. Movies like Dirty Harry and movies like Death Wish. Americans were saying, we're seeing skyrocketing violent crime. We're having politicians who are soft on crime. We're being told that the police are corrupt. And so everything has to be letter of the law. Criminals have rights. And Americans wanted strong leadership. And instead of peace, based on a lie, they wanted justice. Here are the movie stars. Here are the action heroes from the early 70s.
Ian, this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
You got money, man?
If it were a Simply Safe commercial, the criminal would be a white guy.
Shit, I'll kill you. Give me your money or I'll bust you up.
That's a blonde mustache right there.
Yes, it is.
Stephen? Oh, man.
But what's so funny about those movies is
how they die.
Well, it's how they die as well. I mean, it's just a happy ending. But what's funny is they're incredibly graphic, right?
Yeah.
Like the rape in Death Wish, if you haven't seen it, because they need to establish, a motive for revenge. But then they still soften the language. Like a criminal's going to say, "Hey, I'll bust you up."
I'll bust you up, pal.
You ever seen a World Star video? The language is quite a bit more severe than that.
Well, basically, he said, I'll kill you, and then he said, I'll bust you up.
I'll give you a knuckle sandwich.
I'll bust you up instead of kill me. There we go.
It's going to really smart all over your body.
I'll give you a 5-finger discount. Talking to Susie Q and Cold Ethel, see? Bing.
I can be pushed only so far, see?
Yes. And he killed him with a roll of quarters and a sock.
Yes.
Which, by the way, is an incredibly effective weapon. You may not, but you have to double sock it. You have to double sock it.
History's repeating itself.
Yep.
John Wick 4, huh?
Yep. John
Top
Wick 4,
Gun.
Maverick.
The two biggest movie stars in Hollywood are men in their 60s. Straight men in their 60s, everybody. Can I get an amen?
Yes, exactly. Completely straight men.
Oh, man.
Who have not had one of the world's most corrupt religions cover up any.
I'm just saying, Stephen.
I agree. I agree.
Why do you have to ruin my party? I've met him. He's a friend. I did talk to him for an hour and a half, and I will say, as a straight man, if he had just leaned in for a kiss, the peer pressure would have been overwhelming.
Tom Cruise lean in? You mean get up a step ladder?
Well, I would have. That makes it more feminine. He's got a small face.
Yes, he does. He has a
That's
very small
exactly
face.
right. Just go to
Fine
your happy place.
Features, bird-like.
Right, and he shaves closely.
Yeah.
Right? He might wax his face.
Okay.
The point is, that's why you need 5 blades. Going back to Gillette.
No, you need 1 blade.
All right.
Yeah. Everything you've just said is incorrect.
I don't know if you're a real man. Are you talking about African throwing knives? He shaves with African throwing knives, everyone. He may sound prejudiced, but he's not.
So here's the thing with Dirty Harry, by the way. They had 4 sequels, these films, Death Wish, Dirty Harry. And Dirty Harry, if you go back and you watch it, it was about a cop. It was a direct response to the market. They're going, hey, Americans don't like what we're selling. Americans want a strong character. Americans want a strong lead. Americans now are actually pleading for the rule of law. And so you had a character who basically told the police system, he faced this sort of, I guess you would say it's like these hapless chiefs, right? They always come like, who told you could do that, Callahan? Like, I play by my own rules. So he was the one who would take matters into his own hands because people felt helpless.
What? Where the hell does it say you've got a right to kick down doors, torture suspects, deny medical attention and legal counsel? Where have you been?
Yeah.
Does Escobedo ring a bell? Miranda? I mean, you must have heard of the 4th Amendment.
Nope.
What I'm saying is that man had rights.
Well, I'm all broken up about that man's rights.
You should be.
Nobody said less in movies. Nobody said less in movies. Yeah, maybe.
Harrison Ford just points.
But God, I mean, talk about a movie star. All he had to do is smolder.
Yeah.
Just look like he has a bad headache all the time.
I remember in that film, he says, look, next time you get a perp, Callahan, you bring him in for questioning. That's our policy. He goes,
yeah.
Well, if I see a man with the intent to commit rape, I shoot the bastard.
No, he said
that's my policy.
If I see a man with a
No, that's what he says. He says, rape. He goes, how did you figure that out, Callahan? If I see a naked man chasing a lady down an alleyway with an erection and a butcher knife, I figure he's not collecting for the Red Cross.
There it is.
It's like,
I love that you know that.
Well, why don't you bend me over this bench here, Callahan? I deserve it.
Well, Daddy here is old enough to have been in the movie theater when that came out, and I can remember when people clapped.
Oh yeah.
Did you just refer to yourself as Daddy?
Well, that's what the people call me.
Yeah, that's what the people.
Around the office.
He's the people's daddy.
Around the office.
Yeah, give yourself nicknames.
Remember, and he just, by the way, he punched a black hooker in one of those films.
I didn't.
And it was incidental contact. She wasn't even. He was just like, whore.
Yeah, I covered my eyes for that part. That's the part I covered my eyes for.
No, she was trying to stab him. She was trying to stab him, but he just punched her in the face.
Yeah.
He didn't care.
Really?
Yeah, because people were going like, yeah, it was an African American hooker tried to stab him, so he punched her in the face.
But does he know her childhood and her background?
Exactly.
I'm saying, guys.
Yes.
Daddy's saying.
Oh boy.
Yeah. No, you're right. But here's the thing: people were cheering that. Same thing, by the way, with Death Wish. So Death Wish, by the way, is even more telling. It was about a formerly liberal citizen who was anti-gun. He declined a gun that a friend gave him. Remember, he was anti-firearm, and then his wife gets horribly raped by an incredibly vulgar and very thin young Jeff Goldblum. If you don't remember,
I didn't. Was he the one who did it?
Yeah. He was one of the gang rapists.
A tall, thin Jewish guy.
Yeah, you know what? Someone can bring up
the
that clip because they dropped the C-bomb in the clip, but it's young Jeff Goldblum. You probably wouldn't have recognized him. I mean, he is a beanpole. So here's the thing. Then he turns down the gun. His wife gets murdered, and his daughter gets raped, and she gets put into a coma. And so then this man, he's actually not even a police officer. We're one step further. He now represents the citizen. Right, Dirty Harry was a proof of product, and they said, you know what? Hey, hold on a second. Citizens now feel helpless. He was a citizen who went around killing the thugs that the police refused to engage. Again, on the heels of skyrocketing crime rates, these became the cultural heroes, not Jimi Hendrix.
This is the Americans.
How's my wife? I'm sorry. She died a few minutes ago, Mr. Kersey.
Oh, Steve Odenkirk.
Any chance of catching these men? There's a chance, sure. Just a chance. I'd be less than honest if I gave you more hope, Mr. Kersey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you were about to say something before that.
Just a character arc. It's the American character arc.
Yep.
Like, I'm being serious. It's sort of this meta arc that all of us are going through.
Yep.
This is what happens to Americans and ultimately the American voter.
Yep.
Is you just go, this doesn't make sense. The news is telling me a story that I don't see when I live my day-to-day life.
Right.
That's the biggest disconnect. The news seems to be pushing a story, a fictional narrative that bears no relevance to the actual
and that's
day-to-day
by design.
life.
That's by the design for the same reason the indictment, the arraignment. They want the right to get violence so that they can say, look at this. That's why they try and say that January 6th was like 9/11 too, right? The sequel. They want everyone to believe that you are extremists, right? And they keep implementing policies where you are less safe. And by the way, not only do they implement policies in these major cities where you are significantly less safe, meaning you're more likely to be raped, you're more likely to be robbed, you're more likely to be murdered, but then they try and punish you for moving out of the cities. And they try and encourage you and force you to live in big cities through programs like public transportation, right? Through taxes that they might put on you on a vehicle, carbon taxes. So you're rewarded if you're dependent on the government and living in a big city. Come to San Francisco, come to New York, come to Detroit. You want to go out there and there's a freeway? Well, you know what? There are going to be more tolls. Oh, wait, hold on a second. You want to? Well, there's going to be a carbon tax. So they want you dependent on these big cities, and you are like lambs to the slaughter, and Americans are tired of it. Let me give you some numbers here. You saw the rise in crime. You'd say, oh, Dirty Harry's maybe more niche. No, more niche is the crappy experimental hippie music that you listen to, that you try and act as though it was mainstream. Dirty Harry grossed $36 million in 1971. That's over $267 million today.
Wow.
Not in the Marvel-verse, just to be clear.
Wow.
Death Wish, $22 million. That's $134 million today in 1974 dollars. Here's the thing. These were not huge budget films either, and the sequels did even better. Not all the Death Wish sequels. Some of them are pretty bad. It gets to the point where it's like he's following them to Poughkeepsie and someone like didn't tip well, but just blows them away. Like it ends up being like he's looking for crime. Yeah. Like It's one of the first ones. Started okay. Your wife is killed. Your daughter's raped. We get it. Then all of a sudden he shows up in Miami and he's like, "Hey, it looks to me like you didn't tip the bill up. What?"
Yeah, these kids are dancing too close.
Yes, exactly.
I can't have this.
Looks to me like you're not quite a yardstick.
Yeah, hair's a little long there, kid.
You didn't bless
Walks
me
into a date. He's like, "Hey, both feet on the ground when you're in the bed with the lady."
Keep that door ajar. I'm a chaperone.
Yes, I like.
Got one hand on my gun, the other hand on my gun.
That's right, puke satchel. I like to peek.
All right, so I think we do have is it the Jeff Goldblum clip
boy,
that we have?
see
You wanna
this.
watch
Well, hold on a second,
okay,
because people might just shut off when they see it. It's really rough. And warning if you have kids.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah.
By the way, Jeff Goldblum, every bit of 6'5".
Yeah, he's a very tall guy.
Tall guy. Big man.
So let's compare this to today. You saw this, right? So again, let me give you those numbers. Murders 60 to 70, or sorry, violent crime up 126%, up 64% from 1970 to 1980. Okay, so you're looking at two different decades there. And we just talked about the anti-heroes. We talked about the albums, what Americans actually wanted. Well, right now, from 2019 to 2020, we're only talking about 1 year, not a decade. Murders increased 28%. Okay, violent crime is up dramatically depending on your city. And what do we see? Films like John Wick, films like Maverick are popular. What was Nobody? I'm trying to remember Nobody. Oh, that's right. Nobody was Odenkirk. Same thing. Is it Steve Odenkirk? Bob Odenkirk. Steve Odenkirk did Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. That's right.
Bob Odenkirk.
So this is something you're seeing the parallel now. Now, the challenge that you run into is, at least back then, there was some kind of responsiveness to the American consumer through media, but now it's responsiveness to, for example, into the 80s, you had Red Dawn. This is actually a perfect kind of A-B
Great movie.
test, right? It was about the communist Russians.
The Russians came to America.
It was a time where then they could say, well, you know what? Even though most of us here in Hollywood are communists, we know that Americans hate communists, so let's have them do Red Dawn, right? Wolverine's forever. Okay. Now, today, Red Dawn had to be remade, and they had to switch the Chinese flag, the largest communist nation that exists, to the Korean flags because they didn't want to offend that market. Don't know if the Chinese Communist Party are big fans of Red Dawn to begin with. Maybe they're Swayze fans. I don't know. But this is the change now, is they're not responding to you. They're responding to external forces. They're not responding to you, the voters. They're responding to criminals. They're not responding to you, the American viewer. They're responding to China. They're responding to European nations that, by the way, have already since abandoned their Western civilized values a long time ago.
But they're also responding to an ideology. It's not just a marketplace.
No, it's not.
If it was about money, that's an enemy I can fight. This is also an ideology.
Yes.
Right? It's a religion.
Yes. When you add it all up, the ESG, when you add up the fact that they don't even acknowledge Taiwan, right, with the NBA, how can you be this wrong all the time? And then when the little ray of sunshine pokes through like Maverick, look, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to find out Maverick was relatively apolitical, and people got to root for the United States of America, got to feel proud to be American again. John Wick, it's not necessarily political, but it is about a guy who kills bad guys. They killed his puppy, and now you have 4 3-hour films later where we still love watching him snuff the bad guys. You don't kill the puppy. It's the first rule. You don't kill the dog. But this is where we are now, and you have an entire group of people at the top who not only don't understand it, we were asking this earlier, they do understand it. They do understand it, and they're acting this way in spite of it. So here's my question, and this is why what you can do is relevant if you have children. Just like people, a lot of the boomers, I'm sorry, guys, I know you get a lot of flack, but the one thing that bothers me most about you is not the entitlement programs and hitting us with the bill. I get it. But it really is in not communicating to your kids, no, this is what the 60s and 70s were actually like. This is why the pendulum swung the other way. If that story is, if it's not a matter of record, then the media and Hollywood will act like it didn't exist. So let's look at this period right now where we're living in today. Fast forward 20, 30 years. Are kids in school going to be learning that in the year 2020, 2022, 2023, that time should be remembered like this?
To act the right way.
Bro, not cool, not cool. We can do it, I know we can. I've long talked about the battle for the soul of America. We must restore the soul of America.
And our indignation and turn it into energy.
To march.
So is that how your kids are going to remember what happened right now? Or are they going to understand that that was a small minority of people, and of course those in power who were the strong arm enforcing it? Or are they going to know the truth, that most Americans today, at this point in history, were concerned about the country looking like this?
Police started using some of those crowd dispersal tactics like tear gas, even playing very loud sounds to push them out.
Kyle Rittenhouse is the teenager who took a weapon onto the streets as a self-styled protector. This was the moment his efforts ended in the deaths of 2 people. The 17-year-old's social media postings show him to be a Donald Trump supporter.
This surveillance footage shows a 71-year-old Asian grandmother violently shoved to the ground, her purse stolen, a 91-year-old man pushed in Oakland's Chinatown, one of 3 attacks that day. 84-year-old Thai American Visha Ratanapakdi knocked over while out for a walk. He died a few days later from his injuries.
Yeah, let's be sympathetic to the criminal. I'm sure that was just over an accounting error. This is something that, and you have the same thing happening in the 60s and the 70s. They would silence you as, oh, you were that's what they used back then. You were a fascist. That's why they try and, you know what we're dealing with today? San Francisco retreads. Fascist, when that doesn't work. Racist, that doesn't work. Homophobic, when that doesn't really work. Transphobic, so they try and silence you while you live surrounded by death, while you live in an economy that cannot recover if the left has their way. It's not about what is happening right now as both the left and the right jockey for position. What would happen if the left had their way entirely? Well, we know what would happen if you did, because the rare instances where we see you voting with your dollar, oh, we see John Wick, oh, we see Maverick. If you look, you see what you guys do with this show and migrating from YouTube to Rumble and Don Lemon's ratings, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS. You see the transition with the vast majority of Americans, but here's the deal. It's not a matter of public record. It is a clinical level of gaslighting. You have to make sure that every generation hereafter knows that there is an action and an equal and opposite reaction. Just like Dirty Harry, just like Death Wish, what we saw in the 60s and 70s. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying go out and kill someone with a sock and a roll of quarters. What I'm saying is you need to make sure that people don't think, oh yeah, back in the 2020s, yeah, that's right. That's when everyone in the country was on board with Black Lives Matter. And that's when the most popular president ever, Joe Biden, was elected, right? And yeah, that's right. That's when everyone really finally realized that kids should be castrated. No. You need to say, no. That was a very, very small percentage of people, and we were furious with it. There needs to be a matter of public record, and that's what we are doing here. That's what, we'll bring up the Jeff Goldblum thing a little bit. Brian Callen, BrianCallen.com. We're still going to continue, by the way.
I'm excited.
It's just that right now, but I don't even know if you can make today.
I don't think you could.
A movie like Death Wish.
No.
I think there's going to be a market for it.
Well, not
very
too
soon.
long ago, we actually got the rights, and we tried to make a progressive death wish. This was about 5 years ago, and spoiler alert, every major production house turned it down, but we put it together.
Enjoy a typical night in New York City. This is Pauline Kersey. This is the story of a person who decided to clean up the most bigoted city in the world.
So I bet you think you're some kind of tough guy, huh? A real big man.
Yeah, bitch.
Too bad that's just a social construct. A false archetype perpetuated by Western civilization.
Man, can you believe this?
Where all the LGB activists stop, his work begins.
Hey, you cis scum. Did you get yourself in that healthcare exchange?
Yes.
You're gonna need it.
Some call him a hate crime vigilante. Some call him a hero. Some call him Z.
Hey, you white privilege puke satchel. Now, is that any way to treat a tranny?
What are you gonna do about it, ass?
You know the best part of my friend here, Mr. Walter? When it comes to targets, he's gender neutral.
Death Wish 14, the reassignment.
Paramount turned it down, even with Brian Callen attached. I don't know what happened.
Amazing.
But this is the time where if we were on YouTube, of course, we would tell them to piss off, and this would be only on Mug Club. By the way, tomorrow, it's only available on Mug Club. You can't see it on Rumble, but it is still free for the remainder of the week. LouderWithCreditor.com/Mug Club. We do a Friday show, 10 a.m. And right now it's kind of a mixed bag so that you guys can determine what the Friday show looks like. Nick DiPaolo, April 10th, starts on the network. There's a lot for us to look forward to. And, of course, we have chat Thursday. So this is where I would say share all of this and YouTube piss off. But we're just going to keep it short because you get to watch it for free anyway right now because we're not on YouTube. So thank you, Rumble. And this is just sort of, it's a placeholder. All right, there we go.
There we go.
But I don't have enough time to pee is a problem.
I need to run that for like a minute.
What else was I going to say? Oh, the Jeff Goldblum thing. That's what we were waiting on, right?
Yes.
I remember this clip being really rough. It's not the really rough,
It's
like
a rough
actual
one.
raping clip, is it?
No.
I know that there's.
You don't sound too confident. It's like, no.
It's rough in the vulgar language way. You don't see any actual raping.
Okay, well, let's just see. This is young Jeff Goldblum.
Someone had their butt spray painted in one of the movies. That's all I remember.
Good.
I've never gotten over that. Do you know that?
Yes, I do remember
Okay,
that.
I'm just saying.
I do remember that.
These
I think
little
it
things
was
that
like
stick in my head.
It was like in an empty house kind of thing. Where
That's right. I call it tagging the butt.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the best part about it is that when you tag one butt and they can figure out every single other person you've sexually assaulted.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Because
that's called leaving your mark.
Yes, exactly.
Leaving your mark.
And you'll never get out of prison.
That's right.
But I guess that's what you want if you're the infamous butt tagger.
It was done with red paint.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And,
I think it's the same one where he said, "Do you believe in Jesus?" Like, you're gonna meet him.
Yeah, that's good.
Those lines.
That's good.
Why would you answer? Like, here's the thing: if someone asks you one of those lines, okay, if someone shows up who's a vigilante in real life and they ask you, and just don't answer it. Buy yourself some time. In other words, if he says, "Hey, do you believe in Jesus?" You go like, hold on, I'm on a call. And you're like, "Okay, what do I?" And then do something. Don't be like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Because now he's got his tag ready.
There was that hitman, that mafia.
You
pretend you're
without his tag.
Yeah. Why give him the satisfaction?
It's so true. There was that mafia hitman. The guy was praying. He was going to shoot him. The guy was praying. I think it was that guy Kuklinski or whatever. And the guy's praying, and he goes, "You believe in Jesus?" And the guy goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "All right. I'll give you a half hour. Let's see if Jesus saves you." And he went away and came back and goes, "Didn't save you, shot him." And when they interviewed him,
why was the guy still there?
Because he had him like tied up or something. And he said he came back and he said when they interviewed him, he said, "I shouldn't have done that. I feel a little bit bad about that. That was a little excessive."
Yeah, you don't.
It's like
one
a cat
thing
playing with a mouse.
One thing when you're a murderer, you don't talk religion and politics.
That's what it is. Yeah. Don't get him to pray and call on Jesus.
Yeah, I felt bad, but
gonna work.
I mean, I still shot him.
I mean, that's my job. So
Still shot him.
What if he just said like what you should just say? Because it was a mobster. He's probably Italian. So the better answer would have been like, "Hey, do you believe in Jesus?" You're like, No, tell me about him.
That's exactly right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you have
That's
a minute?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. No, you just say, like,
I'm
no.
on the fence.
So how old is the Earth? Just going to like all these random topics about Christianity.
Yeah. Do you believe in dinosaurs? Hey, what are you, smart? But I see no reason that they couldn't have coexisted across parallel timelines. That's a myth if you're a Christian. Hey, none of your tricks.
Tricks.
Tie
me up in knots.
What are we talking about here?
The philosophical mob hitman.
How were you saved? I don't know. The guy that killed me gave me a minute and told me about Jesus.
Yeah, you just confused him with a riddle.
Yeah.
He said, do you believe in Jesus? Hey, wait a second.
The man or the God?
If a plane crashes in the middle of the border of Canada and the United States, right in the middle, right? Hey, I'm just saying, if it lands right, where do they bury the survivors? Well, they would bury them in Canada. No, wait, the United States. Wait.
What's going on here?
I don't know.
I need a minute.
I'm going to look this up.
You're pretty smart.
And by the time he says, wait, they don't bury survivors. Where'd he go? The air vent. Son of a...
Every time.
Every time with the air vent.
All right, let's grab the Jeff.
All right.
This is good, dude. That was a good movie. That's a good movie.
Damn rich cunt! I kill rich cunts! Mother's getting the shit kicked out of her.
All right, there you go.
English?
That's his only line.
Yeah.
In the movie, is Jeff Goldblum. Seriously, I remember watching like that's Jeff. You only see him for a fraction of a second.
Yep, but you know what? I believe him.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that he does.
That's when you know when an actor's
Who else is he gonna kill? He's like a stick bug.
Acting's easy. You just hit your mark, look the other actor in the eye, and tell the truth, Stephen.
Yes.
James Cagney said
they should have that. Was it Walter Cronkite with the sketch artist? They just draw him, and it's just like a bamboo cane. We believe that this rich C word was murdered by this bamboo cane.
Don't worry, he's English. That's a normal word for them.
And I don't know why our bamboo cane is black, but there you go. Use that. We expect you to be citizen journalists for us. All right, it's time to take some Chat Thursday.
Yeah.
Chat.
All right, I really do have to go
potty.
Which is what I would also no. No, come on, guys. Which is what I would say if someone were trying to kill me. I'd be like, wait.
I have to potty.
You know that if you kill me,
if
you kill me, that I evacuate everything, and so wouldn't you be like, hey, no tricks, but yeah, I appreciate you being cordial. Go use the restroom, and he would untie me, and I'd be like, thank you, and I would act like I'm his friend.
Yeah, you know what I'd do?
But then I would run.
I'd throw you diapers.
Would you?
Yeah. Do it in there.
You thought of everything. But then you would have to change me.
Well, you know what?
Back to Grapes of Wrath.
Which is what I'm into. Into.
Hey, here you go. Here, wear this diaper.
I got a baby fetish.
And hold this rattle.
Yep.
That doesn't have anything to do with them.
Well,
hold the rattle.
I'm going to hold your ankles over your head. I got to clean you.
Yes.
I bring wipe-its at all times.
Yes. You have that sensitive skin. I got scent and dye free.
That's it.
There's a lot of hair on this baby.
Yes.
If you got to go.
All right, you guys take the first chat or two, okay? All right, I'm going to use the restroom really quickly. I'll be right back.
This one might be perfect for the situation.
Oh, boy.
From JCat720, question for Gerald, just to annoy Steven.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on how well Notre Dame is going to do this year?
First of all, it's pronounced Notre Dame. Keep going.
Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's going to do quite well. I don't know. I mean, we've got a tough schedule this year. He doesn't care anything about this. Brian, do you follow college?
Is Rocket Ishmael still playing?
He's not.
Okay.
Hasn't been for a long time. But he made a lot of money in the Canadian Football League when they tried to buy some of the best players. That didn't work out too well.
I know.
No, Notre Dame. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Notre Dame, ladies and gentlemen.
They're going to do just fine next chat.
Yeah. So boring.
Next chat. Oh, God, next chat.
All right. From Gerald's gay lover.
Oh, boy.
It's my birthday. Can the team wish me a happy birthday by calling Gerald gay?
No.
Well, why don't we just show you how gay he is? Gerald, get over here.
No.
Sit on my lap and let my hands roam.
You said post-show.
He's going to try not to smile.
Not at all. Not happening. Why do you pick these kinds of chats for me?
Yeah, who picked these?
Give me some substantive chats.
Yeah.
Any hole will do.
Well, this one actually is a little more fitting for you. From Captain Explorer, what is your favorite old school video game, Gerald?
Ooh, old school video game? I think probably, I don't know what counts as old school for most people, right?
Hide the
like
sausage.
Sega, Super Nintendo,
GoldenEye
Atari.
was awesome, but Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo, I played that like a champ, like all the time. I couldn't afford to go to the arcade, but my cousin had the Super Nintendo, and so I would play it over there. I loved Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo. And Steven and I have actually played. I don't cheat at all. He just loses, and he goes, you
you're
cheat.
a button masher.
I'm not a button masher.
Button masher. A nutless monkey could play like you play.
I have mad
button masher.
Hey, by the way, time out. If Steven feels like I'm a button masher, I would be happy to record me playing you and just record my hands.
Oh, you would.
Domination,
you would.
baby.
Hey, can somebody keep saying button masher?
Yeah, exactly.
Get my hand down my pants.
Your Wang Fu guy or whoever.
Hey, hold on a second. Wait, Toolman, did we get, because this arcade machine, we have a key down there. Did you find it? Remember, we need a key to open it up so we can turn the volume up.
Yeah. Mash that button.
custom arcade that we have there. And it was supposed to be on top of it, but we lost it.
It was for a while, yeah.
I didn't realize the key's no longer in there. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll look for it.
Because someone was asking me the other day, there's like 500 video games on there.
And it's awesome.
Really?
Yeah. It's I don't know how they do it. I'm sure it's not legal.
I played Mario World, too. Did you play Mario at all, or was it just all stuff?
There's Mario on there?
No. And they said like old school video.
Oh, I missed a chat.
Yeah.
What's your favorite old school video game?
Yeah.
Super Street Fighter 2, Donkey Kong Country is up there for me.
Super Street Fighter 2?
Nice.
Yeah.
So not the original.
Well, Super Street Fighter 2 has more characters.
More characters.
Yeah, but I draw the line at Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
The turbo was actually fun.
I don't like the turbo.
There was a glitch in the arcade system where you could do the uppercuts and
yes, you would know how to cheat it. This is what I'm saying. He knows all the cheats. He's the kind of guy who'd play against you. You'd use Game Genie.
All you would have to do.
There's no cheating in street fighting. You can mash someone's button, or you can. Especially what I say.
Yes. Well, you're talking about the actual street fighting. Yes.
Oh yeah, I was talking about real street fighting.
Killer Instinct was also.
I play by street rules.
Yeah.
Well, I got a great
ultimate combo.
I have a great karate story. Not for here, though. No, it's not. If you guys aren't going to take me seriously, then this is...
We won't.
Okay. It's going to teach you some safety tips, but whatever.
That is neat.
Safety tips from your blade back?
Right here, baby.
I mean, just think that there's no way to do it unless you would have a net guard. Like, you would have to be dressed like Hellraiser.
Yeah. I carry... Well, so when I'm killing, I carry diapers, wipes, and a net guard.
Yeah.
Right. Is it a net guard? I said net guard.
Yeah, net guard. It would have to be like a leather neck. Well, actually, you know what? We showed that we did a video of that. Where they call them leather necks, the Marines.
Yeah.
It's because of the, I believe it was the rapier swords from Muslim pirates.
Sorry, the what?
Yes, the rapier.
Say rapier. Rapier. Oh, rapier swords.
You're just grow up.
You're the one.
You two would make fine adults.
Fine. Button mashing and rapier.
Yeah.
I have a rapier's
but
wit.
because of the Muslim pirates, and they would specifically go to decap, so they put on this thick leather, like it's stiff leather. It's not what you think of as soft leather. That's where leather net comes from. It was specifically to protect. It was actually David Barton. Remember, we went there and he showed me these historical artifacts to protect against Islamic pirates because they've been doing it for a long time, even pre-Captain Phillips.
That's why they
does it work? So it works against a rapier. Does it work against a machete?
I have no idea.
Sorry, that's Spanish for machete.
I don't know. I don't know about if it's Trejo proof.
Well, but speaking of kind of somewhat gay things, can I really quickly? I just wanted to mention this. This ties back into that segment we were talking about in France right now. They're protesting. There's mostly peaceful protests with fires and a lot of stuff going on at Black Rock as well. So this is the kind of stuff that you will see.
Is there a clip?
Covering? I think we have a clip that we can show really quickly. Yeah.
This is in France right now?
That's in France.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. There's been that much fire in the streets since Joan of Arc. Am I right?
I was going to say. Good call.
More like Joan of Vanguard.
Joan of Arc, the first transgender warrior.
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
Do you think that when you get burned alive, do you think it just singes all your nerves where it only hurts or do you think you feel it all the way through?
I think, well, she probably felt it in her dick first, right, guys? Huh? No, apparently the truth is when you got burned at the stake, if you were extra naughty, they would fan the smoke
so you
away.
Wouldn't pass out?
Right. So you felt just the fire. So that you fan the smoke so that the flames are actually what get to you.
Oh.
And I think it hurts like fuck. I don't think there's any... in other words, when you're burning at the stake, you know how it can always get worse?
Yeah.
That's the only time. When you're on fire is the only time it can't get worse.
Well, except unless this were like a sitcom, you'd be like... You're like, that's the sound of flames. This can't, how could this get any worse? And then it starts raining, and you're like, perfect.
Perfect. It's hot as hell in here.
We got to relight.
Perfect.
Now I'm in a sauna.
Now I'm burnt. I'm wet and being burned alive.
Have you seen the Stones though, where they would actually put you I think it was the Protestants killing the Catholics are bad, where they would actually put you on like.
Well, the Catholics they got theirs in too.
Well, they would lay you on. They would lay you on this one mat that had like these pegs that would go up into your back, not like the peg you were talking about.
Right.
And then they would put another one on top, and they would just increasingly move the weight up until it just penetrated your body and you died.
Yeah.
Like they were really cruel.
They would also do the wheel where they would.
The best is when you're sat. They sit you on a pole. So they'll sit you on a sharp
big triangle.
Right.
What do your fantasies have to do with this, Brian?
What? Somebody say mash my button again.
I've been around Nick DiPaolo too long this week.
Button mashing. I know.
Everything is it's just a slight burn. It's a seething.
He turns everybody into a power bottom. Everybody.
Yeah. The funny thing is Nick is really nice, but so they're protesting their Vanguard BlackRock. So in France, they're finally growing a Vanguard.
I don't know about just a BlackRock. They're actually at the BlackRock headquarters in some of the videos. They're
What's the reason for the from what I understood today is they're mad.
It's pensions.
Oh, so not exactly.
Yes,
so yeah.
So they can't. I believe they moved the what is it? Age of retirement back so you can collect the pension, but they moved it back 2 years.
Yeah, that's like the Greeks. They're like
that.
No, we're not going to retire at 54.
Yeah.
No. Come on, our pension kicks in at 42.
Yeah, they moved it from 62 to 64.
What a nightmare!
So,
the French will have to work.
The contentious thing is they're taking your pension plans now and applying ESG to them. So that's where I draw the line. Yeah. I want my money.
It's not even that. It's just you have these terrible policies that the state is going to provide for its citizens, and it never works out. And it's just every single time we look at a country, we're like, doesn't work out. Don't have the money. Sorry.
You're absolutely right. And by the way, this is something too we did. We talked about Social Security. It is the definition of a Ponzi scheme, except for the fact that the SEC says that it's not. When you look at the retirees per workers, I don't remember if it was 30-something or 16 workers per retiree, and now it's at like 1 to 3. By the way, something else too, the little trick they pull on you.
Yeah.
When you go to a Chinese restaurant and you order no ESG, they still put it in. Next chat.
From Hobby 1994, question for the crew. If you won the presidency, who would be your VP and what would be your goals for your first 100 days in office?
Gerald!
Yes, good call.
No, if I were, honestly, Gerald probably would be my VP. Or at least he would be head of my campaign.
There we go.
Yeah.
Can I be your chief of staff?
Sure.
There we
That's
go.
a West Wing thing, isn't it? That's why, because you like the character.
Yeah.
So he's been fired now.
He's been fired.
Yeah.
I'll be your Leo, who's called Gerald by some crazy drunk.
Brian would be my torrid affair, but that would be my second term.
Yes, I spent all my time under your desk.
He'd be your Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah, the connection here is not good. I'm going to work on these plugs some more.
Yes, exactly.
Just every once in a while you see me come up.
There are no plugs.
Huh?
Oh,
what?
Stop it, Brian.
What'd I say?
Stop it.
Too much?
Terrible.
No.
All right. No.
I don't know. But we actually wrote so this is one thing, again, if you're watching right now, tomorrow, Mug Club, it's Mug Club only, loudscar.com/Mug Club. Remember, I wrote, and we can't find it, we had an issue when we had to transfer a lot of old content over, and I wrote a treatment for 2 different series, scripted series. One was a studio, and then one was animated, and it was about a White House aide, the chief, the presidential aide. Yes, and the idea is he gets the job because his dad, but he's completely apolitical, and so the idea behind it was that you could have all this insanity taking place, and it doesn't matter who's president, and he just keeps getting punted to the next president, so he's a perpetual presidential aide.
Forget to fire him.
And we wrote out a treatment of like 10 episodes, and I can't find it, but these are the kinds of things we want to work on and provide for you. Yeah, maybe we could rehash it together.
Yeah.
The other one was a studio, was a single camera sitcom based, but anyway, we'll get into it.
Enthusiastic intern who has to change his political point of view.
No, he was completely unenthusiastic. Like Biden would be like, I need you to go out and say that, that I was sniffing this kid for security reasons. Like, I mean, I guess I can.
Yeah. So
and then the next shot is him at the podium. Like, I guess he likes, was for safety, for security, and then he gets asked a question, and he just gets stumped and has no way to deal with it.
Yeah.
I just always love discomfort.
What if he's a chameleon, though? If he's kind of a Machiavellian chameleon? See how I'm changing?
No, he has no motive. That's the whole thing. He's a blank slate.
He's just
a pawn. He's just used. He's lazy. Like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. I'll do it.
He's like a kid who cuts his own hair and you know what I mean? Just one of the...
You didn't cut your hair with a bowl?
Oh, you talking about me?
Yeah. Oh, must be nice to be so perfect. All right.
I know. It's crazy.
Next chat. You're going to be Portland?
I'll be in Portland. Helium.
Helium.
April 20, 21, 22.
And
Only if you like to laugh hard for over an hour.
And you have all
Port
of your tour
Charlotte.
dates at BrianCallen.com, right?
BrianCallen.com, spelled with a Y, B-R-Y-A-N. Yeah, Portland.
It's a hellhole.
I can't wait. Portland.
Nick,
walk around with a MAGA hat and see what happens.
Did you get
Good luck.
Some fist fights.
Someone got shot with a MAGA hat in Portland.
Is that true?
Yes, shot dead in the street. Remember, they said, we got MAGA over here, and guy got shot dead.
Well, I'm going to have to wear my leather neck.
Yeah, it's not a funny gig.
Doesn't stop bullets, Brian.
That is actually a perfect way for you to go out.
I know.
Doing a bit of which you are blissfully unaware will lead to your untimely demise.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
But I won't die the way they die in Death Wish.
No,
I'll just leave them with guilt. I'll get hit and I'll go,
right
love
back.
my children.
Don't you go dying on me.
Be sure to bring your sock with a roll of quarters, but double sock it.
Yeah.
I've learned that one
And
the hard way.
my throwing stars.
Yep. I learned that one the hard way, but the nanny got off scot-free. Next, Chet.
From Jay Simi, Steven, I work in the office part of my company, and the websites we connect with our vendors are starting to require ESG stuff. Luckily, my company isn't woke. Any tips on avoiding the encroaching ESG
Okay, so
requirements?
here's the thing. I'm the worst person to ask this question because my policy of like how I handle working with others, we actually have it. Some people call it a memo. It's more of a mission statement, is go fornicate yourself with a wire brush.
Yeah.
So if I've...
Or a corn cob.
Well, like the funny thing is, I would actually say I'm a pretty... I would say, most people would say I'm a nice guy, but I'm also rigid sometimes. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, ESG, like, no, I'm not going to do that. There were some things with companies that I worked with, like, well, we want you to do this. Nothing ESG related, but, I'd be like, no. And that was it. And they go, and it shocks people. They go, okay. And they come back to you. They try and sell it to you another way. I go, yeah, it's the same thing you tried to tell me like 2 weeks ago. No, it's still no.
Still a no.
And you just move on.
Yes.
But I don't know how to help you because you have to work within the constraints of a company, which is why we're so blessed with, Mug Club and working with Rumble. No one tells us what to do at all, which is why we're able to do the content that we do. Gerald, you've worked more in the corporate world. What would you say to? Well, you also mainly run your own companies aside from blowing out your knee at Notre Dame.
Thank you for that. That's my main accomplishment.
Did he blow his knee out?
I did blow my knee out.
That explains that
several times.
Waddle.
Yes.
I thought it was something else.
I've got a bad back.
He's been going through your carry-on. Yeah.
No, I mean, honestly, pushing back on stuff like that is important. So look, what happens at these corporate? I'll tell you a story. There's a CEO friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he is in a company where he has the same kind of things. I'm not going to reveal any details.
The story will have a point, though, right?
It will definitely have a point, right? And
say mash your button.
The problem that you find with CEOs, or think of heads of HR or something like that, is that they live kind of in this bubble where they feel like they're forced to have to do these things to make everybody happy in their company. And when nobody in the company has the balls to speak up and not even just protest, but just have an honest conversation like, hey, I don't think we really need to do this, or hey, why are we doing that? And not do it in a way that's offensive to anybody, they start to think, hey, I have to go this direction. Otherwise, my entire workforce is going to hold this against me.
Right.
HR is going to have a problem with this. When you start having conversations with those people, though, and start telling them like, hey, look, this is why this is a problem, or hey, this is kind of rough for us, then they go, oh, wait, there's two sides to this. I don't have to just go one direction. I can actually pick the right direction. So that's what I'm saying. Like, have conversations as much as you can. And you may not be in a position as an employee to go all the way to the top, but you can talk to your boss and maybe other bosses and be prepared that they may not like that, and you may have to leave that company. Right.
But there's something more fundamental. If you are a principled person and if you believe in something, character is defined on who you are when it costs you something.
Of course.
So I am constantly around people who talk about this, where it's, well, look, it's a money thing. I can't afford not to. If money is more important than your principles, and if there is a collective agreement and that's accepted, then we're all in deep shit.
Yeah.
And that's what drives me nuts. That's why I appreciated what you did with this whole Daily Wire thing.
Well, it wasn't. And by the way, it wasn't the Daily Wire. It was. It was everywhere. And you know what? No, not to real. But I think this is important. The closest thing that I've come up with, up against with this, and I actually want to go to Toolman and Yakuza because they were there, and so was Hootie. Where again, there were many contracts that were offered, and across the board, it was you get penalized if you are removed from YouTube or if you're demonetized, right? And this was always the sticking point. Because, if you've watched this show or if you followed, maybe not even from 2009, but even go 2014, that depends how, that it's always been a huge cause for us because we saw what was coming down the pike, and I think here we are. And I sat down with everyone here at the office, and I said, look, here are these, and not just one, but here are these offers on the table, which are guaranteed and nothing will really change for you guys, okay? Or Do we want to be able to really kind of do something different and take a risk? But I told you, the risk was mitigated because we kind of knew what we could do on our own, and not only greater reward, but how important is it to everyone here that we be able to do the kind of show we want to do versus a guarantee? Remember, and I had a show of hands, and
we didn't skip a beat, man. We were ready.
Well, everyone raised their hand because I know that I'm the elected leader here, but I also want wise counsel. Now, it's not a democracy, but if everyone said no, we should take the guarantee, everyone said screw them. And screw them meaning big tech, meaning screw big. Nope, we cannot. I remember, I think it was Tim was like, what? Be monetized on YouTube? What? You can't say anything.
Yeah.
That's the
adventure.
Costs.
That's the adventure, but it costs.
You have to draw. You have to set your red lines.
Yeah.
That's what I would say for everyone. If you're an employee or a business owner, you do have to have a red line, and you have to abide by it.
But you define yourself as a person based on the lines you are willing to defend. What are you willing to fight for?
Yeah.
That's how you define yourself.
But not anymore, Brian.
We should have music in the background every time I talk, guys.
Yes.
Yeah,
I keep telling you guys that. And wind in my hair.
It's only for when
I cut myself.
Gerald talks about Rudy.
I do. I didn't a minute ago. Notre Dame came up. No, what I'm saying, Brian, your point is right. People are defined by that, but that's not how we define ourselves anymore. That's why we can go, oh, well, it's too much money for me. It's about the money. I can't do this. Or, oh, I don't want to be somebody who's not accepted at the cocktail parties and somebody that's pointed at as a bigot. Or, oh, this may cost me a friend on Facebook that doesn't like my point of view. Or, this may cost me a promotion because my employer can
worth
find out
it
about this.
Worth it.
No, I know.
Worth it.
But that's the thing. Most people don't have that conviction and that character.
A lot of it, but it really bothers me when you have people on the right, people who are in, who we think are in our huddle and they're playing ball. And I don't mean, by the way, being amicable. I don't mean finding. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't do this whole thing like, controlled opposition. I understand that it's a very large tent and people have different opinions. But when people say that they are fighting for you, when people go out and express the issues that we have with big tech, that we have with media, and it's more important to exchange exposure with these shows, to get on their shows, to make sure that we can still be on their platforms rather than waging the figurative war. That's where I have and I'll tell you where it comes. Well, Brian, you were about to say something. And then,
the left has been very good at attacking our pocketbooks. It is a very, very real, vivid threat when you can't send your kids to the school you want, or they can't go, or you may have to sell your house. That is what they do. If you don't toe the party line, you could get fired.
Yeah, right.
You will get marginalized or whatever. And so you can't expect the regular citizen who's just trying to make ends meet and provide a better life for their kids. Thank you. This is good.
It's well earned.
This is good. So Steven's actually playing this right now on his pocket synthesizer.
And right next to where I keep my diapers.
I had no idea you had that kind of digital dexterity.
I have range, yeah.
Wow.
You should see when I play the organ.
I know. Your hands have always been so rough and dominant. Daddy? Anyway, I lost my train.
I know, that's what happens. That's the problem. You asked for it.
I asked for music.
You called down the music. Now you got it.
I can't handle the truth.
No,
Somebody mashed my button. Yes, I have a button.
You really do measure yourself by when you stand to lose something.
That's it.
It's really easy to talk when that's all it is. You stand, and the thing is with what we do, and now people say, "Oh, so what are you guys doing talking?" Yeah, but then why do you get so enthused when there is a celebrity out there who may be conservative? Because you understand the influence, whether it was Kanye before he went off the deep end, whether it's Chris Pratt who then gets attacked and goes back into silence. It's because you understand that cultural relevancy matters because the culture, everything else, right, is downstream. Some people say upstream. I don't know what the expression is that's appropriate. But Andrew Breitbart, I sat under his tutelage. Everything stems from that. That's the heart, right, is culture. Policy, all of it. And the problem right now is they're trying to pinch that valve. Because you are the culture. It's not even close. And that's why it's important for you guys to look and see how many people out there like you are watching, are tuning in, are taking part. It's not about us. It really is about how many of you are out there, and they want you to believe that you are isolated. Let's grab one more chat, and then I'll close on something that helped me.
All right, from Master Bojangles. How important will U.S.
I always eat there when I'm at the Charlotte airport.
How important will U.S.-based farming and manufacturing be over the next decade?
That is actually, that's a really good point. And we kind of botched the Good Ranchers spot because we had some technical issues during the live stream. But Good Ranchers is a sponsor. I think you can go to goodranchers.com/Crowder.
Yeah.
And a big part of what they do, and I wasn't fully aware of this, that a huge portion, I don't know if it's 80% of the meat that you get at a supermarket comes from overseas. It doesn't come from here in the United States. And there's no reason for that, by the way, just like there's no reason for us to be dependent on foreign oil. Now, there is a problem, too, unfortunately, with subsidies to farms. And I know you'll have some farmers who say, well, we need it. Actually, no, you don't. Subsidies help large farms. They help mega farms. And if we actually had, I don't want to say protectionist policies, but I actually mean if we actually protected American farmers, meaning that we didn't bombard them with red tape and regulations so that they could sell direct to consumer. I mean, it's really difficult right now with the FDA and the USDA. I did a story actually a long time ago. This is when I was living in Michigan. And I went to, and it never made air. It was with, I remember a guy named Garrett. He had a little Snidely Whiplash mustache. I used him for a few videos back then. I still had freelancers. And I went down to a goat farm. And I found them because I was looking to become a part of a goat share.
You weren't horny?
Raw milk. Yes. That's how I introduced myself, and then she didn't do the video. That's why I never aired.
Thank you. That
And
goat's head is stuck in that fence.
Because a goat share with raw, you can't get raw milk in Michigan, at least at that point. I don't know what the law is now. Unless you owned a share of a goat, then it was legal because you could drink your own. And so I met her, and she was actually talking with me, and I saw the way these goats were treated, right? They were all out the term pastured meat doesn't really mean a whole lot. And she explained to me, she said, yeah, a lot of people come in and they ask me if this is organic. She said it's not. She said, let me show you why it's not organic, this farm. And it would be exactly what you picture, what PETA would want. Happy goats everywhere. And she said, you see these fence posts? And they're wooden fence posts. She said, I have to treat this with some kind of a liquid that includes a chemical which they say bars me from the USDA organic list. And I would have to pay, it was either $5,000 or $10,000 to get certified USDA organic. She said, let me take you somewhere. She took me to the farm down the road. There was a factory farm where the cows were basically in cages and the pigs looked exactly like you would think when you think of modern factory farming. She said, these guys are USDA organic.
Wow.
She said, I'm not. They are. She said, because they can afford it. And, of course, they get subsidies. She said, you want to know how many subsidies I received? None. It's the same thing with big bank bailouts, right? It benefits the big guys. So I wanted to do this piece on organic farming, and it was just at a time where I guess it didn't work. We have lots of content that doesn't make air. But Good Ranchers has talked about this, where some people go, it's not organic. Yeah, well, you know what? You could be getting organic meat that comes from China for all you know, and it meets these regulations because they use the right treatment on their wooden fence posts. That was her example, but there are a litany of examples.
There's also a really important thing about organic. It takes a lot more resources, more water, more of that sort of organic pesticides. Usually the plane has to fly more times over the field to spray it, and that's more gas. So it's actually more fossil fuel intensive.
It's also a term. There's this natural fallacy. Like I do understand that we're bombarded with with xenoestrogen that they call with things like BPA. Okay, and I do understand that there are chemicals that are that cause disruption of your endocrine system. However, just to think that because something natural, you know what's a pesticide? You know what a pesticide? Nicotine.
Yeah.
Caffeine. These are defense mechanisms that plants develop that are toxic to animals so they don't ingest them. Those are technically pesticides. So you can have natural pesticides out there, by the way, that can be far more toxic than modern pesticides. And I'm not saying in every single case, but just a lot of people like the security of going by organic, that label. And I think it's far more important for you to know where your food is coming from, to have a relationship, to be able to spot that farm. And that's one thing that's really great about Good Ranchers. I always say, look, their prices are better than the supermarket if you set it up on auto order. Their meat is every bit as good. Now, am I going to lie to you and say, it's better than any steak you've had at a USDA Prime Steakhouse? Well, no, because that's a bunch of preparation and dry aging, but it's at least as good as anything you get at the supermarket. It's all USDA choice or higher.
Yeah.
I've never. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've had some of the bottom sirloins, but that's because that's a sirloin steak, right? It was a cheaper steak. No, I had chuck. They sent me some chuck.
Yeah.
But you don't want to eat chuck by itself.
Chuck is leaner, guys.
Their ribeyes, their New York strips, their fillets.
Yeah.
It's always at least as good as the price at the supermarket. More convenient, and it's American farms. Yeah. That's when you win. Made in America doesn't always mean the best, but in their case, it's every bit as good. It's more competitive pricing, and you're getting something that you can feel good about getting. And it is important. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of your meat comes from overseas.
Is machine gunning hogs from a helicopter organic? Anyone?
I think yes.
Anyone?
Ted Nugent would say so.
I'd like that. Or dropping. How about dropping from the skids with an axe on a sow's
Have
back.
you done that? Ted Nugent invited us on an automatic gun hog hunt from helicopter.
Tim Kennedy said what we could do is jump from the chopper's skis onto a pig's back and slay it with a hatchet.
So he wanted to do something he's never done.
Right. I said, Tim, I'm not. I don't have that kind of bone structure.
No.
You know what I mean?
Were you about to say something there, Gerald?
Well, I was going to say I love the the Wagyu burgers. Have you had that?
Oh, yeah. No, that is, I will say this with, like I said, it's always, because the reason I'm saying this, because I'm not a connoisseur. If I get USDA choice at the supermarket, I'll often go to Costco. It's pretty comparable to Good Ranchers. Like, I can't say that one is much better. One is a better price, and one is from American farms. But the Wagyu beef, it has Wagyu ground into the beef. It is by far the best ground beef that I have ever had.
I didn't realize how to cook it at first.
Yeah.
It was this giant thing, and it just splashed
I prefer it to a steak, actually. Sometimes I do like a Salisbury steak where I'll just grill that and put some cheese on it. So I think it's important. And I think, again, like we're talking about with Anheuser-Busch and all of these big corporations, I don't have a problem. If they make the best product and you like their product and they don't hate everything you stand for, I have no problem with a business being big. I think that's what free enterprise is. But I do think we're at the point right now, we have to be very diligent in what it is that you support. And going back to Brian Callen at briancallen.com. We're going to see you guys tomorrow. Brian Callen will be here only on Mug Club, ladoscreditor.com/Mug Club. Again, supporting the small guys. This is entirely funded by viewers like you. One more week free. You get this wonderful hand-etched mug, by the way. It's the only way to get it. You can't buy it, and you get all this additional content. I will say this, though, in dealing with kind of the contract issues, but also in business. I think a big part of what shaped me, I was a very, very late bloomer. And you have to understand that I was a loudmouth American conservative being raised in socialist Quebec. And I didn't even really know what conservative was. I've told this story before where I got in trouble with my drama teacher who was a self-avowed communist, which I didn't know at the time. And she was telling us that we should give the land back. This is when I was 12 years old. Give all of the land back to the Native Americans. And I had just come from history class where we learned about the brutal wars between the Algonquins and the Iroquois. I guess you guys say Iroquois. We learned Iroquois because I'm French, but the Iroquois. And the Algonquins. Those were the two main tribes. And I said, well, give the land back. I said, to who? She said, what? I said, who do we give the land back to? What, the Algonquins or the Iroquois? I mean, they were in a perpetual state of effectively civil war. She said, oh, that's so right-wing. And I was stumped. I said, maybe so. And I went home and I asked my dad, I said, what's right wing? And he said, what, did someone attack you with that? I said, yeah. I said, was it one of your teachers? I said, yes. He said, okay, this is what she's trying to say. And he explained to me what conservative was, what liberal was. And he had to explain it to me because there was no conservative party in Quebec. There was liberals and liberal separatists.
Is that right?
Yeah. They don't really exist. Technically, but you're either a liberal or a separatist in Quebec. And I went back the next day to the teacher. I said, hey, you remember yesterday when I was trying to bait her to call me right wing, but she didn't take the bait? I was like, remember yesterday when you called me right wing? She said, yeah. I said, yeah, I'm that. And
that was awesome.
Burn. Yeah. Burn. I am that.
Yeah.
But I would get into trouble because it's this America hating club. So anyway, I was bullied a lot as a kid, and some of it was of my own doing. But when I was growing up, I went through a period where I was short and fat, and then really tall and skinny. Right, there was no in between. I didn't really start shaving until I was like 20 years old. So I was bullied a lot, and I remember at a certain point when I kind of filled out, I think I was around 19, and that was when I shot from like 170 to like 210. And at that point, I was grappling a lot, and I had another run-in, and I just flipped a switch in my head where I said, you know what? I'm never again. I'm never going. I knew how it felt, and I really was upset that I even had friends who were also scared because I wasn't in the cool kids clique. We were mostly skinny nerds, and I said, that's not going to be me. I'm just going to make them wish that they picked someone else. I'm not going to go along to get along if I'm being bullied. And I've taken that with me through business in dealing with YouTube. I mean, for crying out loud, we have a lawyer and retainer. I don't think anyone has had more run-ins with YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and then in the way that we've done business where we're incredibly loyal in the retention that we have. I'm incredibly grateful. I have the same best friends that I've had since I was a kid. It's Johnny when I was 12, known you for 15 years. My dad is my third best friend. Those people have been my best friends my whole life. But same thing when people said, no, actually, this is how it has to be done. And this happened with every major corporation where I worked. It happened on film sets. And I just said, no, I'm not going to be that guy who sits down and remains silent. And I used to be the guy when people would ask me at Q&As, they would say, hey, I'm in university, or hey, I'm in film school and my teachers are this way. What should I do? Should I speak up if I know they're wrong? And I used to say, this is maybe 10 years ago, hey, you know what? Keep your head down and get your grades and then do good once you get to a position of authority. The problem is now they can smell it on you. The problem is now there's no way to hide it. And so I think you have to flip that switch. You have to act as though you are someone who's been bullied, even if you haven't been. Because I'll tell you what, are you a conservative in the United States right now? Most of you are actually pretty young if you're watching right now, some in your 20s, your 30s, even your 40s. Most of you have a college degree. We know. We can look at the demographics, and you guys answer the polls. Guess what? You are in a minority. You have been othered. You are being bullied. Do you believe that kids can't transit? Do you believe that kids shouldn't be castrated? Guess what? You are being bullied right now. You are being bullied into silence. Do you believe that businesses should be able to conduct business as they see fit without being burdened with ESG scores? Do you see what's happening with the bureaucracy, the red tape, and the squeezing of the American entrepreneur? If you believe that, you are being bullied because they are trying to silence you. And so I don't know the specific answer in your workplace. I don't know the social dynamics there, but I do know that it doesn't matter. You have some fighters who, they'll study tape, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to dance with the one they brought. At the end of the day, they're going to have to go to where they are strongest, and they've decided that there are certain things they won't allow to happen if they plan on being successful. That's in any sport, right? You can't constantly be in a state of adaptation. It needs to be a component, but adaptation, right, being agreeable is only of value if you know where you are rigid, if you know where you will not be agreeable. So all of you, the macro answer is, if you don't think of yourself as someone who's been bullied, guess what? If you're watching this right now, you are. You are the victim of bullying. But you don't have to be. You have to decide every day. It's a battle of inches. Every day, every scenario. Don't couch your words. You don't have to be careful and prudent and constantly tread lightly. The left doesn't do that. Do not allow yourself to be bullied moving forward. And that means you'll have to take a notepad. I want you to do this if you're watching right now. If you're listening on audio, take a notepad and write down your non-negotiables. And when you find someone pushing up against those, the alarm should go off. You're being bullied, and determine in advance, that's not going to be you. You may not win. You may not. But you make them wish they picked someone else. And guess what? The next guy or the next gal or the next Z, they'll wish they picked someone else. And guess what? Sooner or later, the word gets out, and they just pick somebody else. And if that somebody else has also made up their mind as you do, guess what? At a certain point, they're out of options. If all of you, and there's enough of you right now, say, I'm not going to be that guy. I've decided where my red lines are and I won't be bullied. You can change the world. And I don't mean that in some nebulous, be the change that you seek. Write it down on a paper. Put it up on your fridge if you have to. Make up your mind, flip that switch, fight like hell. We will see you tomorrow on Mug Club exclusively. And for those of you who are not there, you don't have to enter in your credit card info, so you should be there. We'll see you Monday. Happy Easter, of course, to everybody out there. That's a red line for me. Guys, God in the flesh. He is risen. We'll see you tomorrow.